everyone, welcome to my channel. Here on the Sheena channel, I share information about government contracting, veteran business content, and other business tips. What is going on, everyone? It is Sheena, aka Sheenapreneur, your favorite veteran. And guess what? Like, I know every time I introduce somebody, it's like, oh, this is my best friend. She's the best. She's the best. But like, for real, this woman right here is like my shero. Like, she's my shero in so many different ways. And she really, truly is my best friend. For real. She's the one that really got me like into this whole business cycle of like going to conferences and meeting people and networking. She's like my extension of networking because, you know, I told you I'm an introvert. She's not an introvert. So she's like, let's go do this. Let's go do this. And I'm like, yes, ma'am. So she is truly like the best, the most like inspiring businesswoman, wife, mom, all these great things. And she is here to talk to us. And I'm just so oh, and she's a veteran, Army, of course. So if you Army, go ahead and drop Army in the chat, okay? Go ahead and drop Army. And I want her to tell us about her business, and I'm going to tell y'all all the amazing things that she has done and has shared with me throughout this journey. Go ahead, Stephannie.
Hey. Oh, my God. That's a wonderful introduction, boo.
For you.
Hi, guys. I'm Stephannie, owner of ACJ Luxury Maintenance. I am a mom, married mom, of 3 kids, 17, 16, and 11. I have owned ACJ Luxury Maintenance since 2020. We are a COVID baby business. I have been an entrepreneur for over a long time.
A whole bunch of years.
I was sitting here thinking about it. I'm like, it's a long time. ACJ is not my first business, but I would say I've been a full-time entrepreneur since 2008. So quite a while.
It's like, I don't know if you were born, and I feel like you were born an entrepreneur because look, my friend is a boss. She's like, I'm not doing that. I'm not punching nobody's clock. She was in the Army. She was acting like a boss in the Army. I didn't even know her in the Army. When she was telling me these stories, I was like, I didn't have that experience, okay?
I was spoiled in the Army. I was spoiled.
Brat. A whole brat, okay? For what she was telling me, I was like, okay. But she is a born boss, for real. So telling us about ACJ, I know you saying born in COVID, baby business, but you were doing some stuff before that. So like, tell us all your past businesses. I want to hear them.
Lord have mercy. I started out in the daycare industry. So originally I wanted to be a teacher, but when my son was born, I realized that it didn't make sense to work at a daycare, and because all of my money was going to be going to his daycare fees. So at that time I talked to my husband. I'm like, I'll stay home. And then eventually I ended up opening a home daycare. I had a home daycare for a number of years, then expanded to an after school program. And after I got done doing that, that actually, it was a good business until it wasn't. I expanded too fast and it didn't work out by the time I did the after school program. So I pivoted. I actually opened I had a tax business for a while. That's how you had tax business?
I'm like, wait a minute, is this new?
I sure did. Yes, I had a tax business for a while. And after tax, I got into real estate. And
you were an agent.
Yeah, I was an agent, a whole agent.
She was a born entrepreneur. That's what I'm saying.
Right. And then after that, I did a little bit of business coaching, and then kind of got into government contracting. I studied government contracting the whole time, but it took a while for me to figure out how to actually like break and get in. And then I met my boo.
You know what I'm saying? She's still talking about this mysterious message she says she sent to me. And I'm like, you ain't never sent that message. Like, I don't know why you saying that. Like, we're still trying to figure out how we originally started talking. But we met on Facebook, ironically, and we just clicked. It took, you know, like when it's like a long distance relationship. You know, she was up in New York, I'm here in Atlanta, and we just kind of kept in contact and like comment on each other's stuff. And it was really like supportive friendship just off the internet. Okay, just strictly the internet. And I think I was in one of your coaching challenges. That was one of
the live challenge.
Going live.
Look at you live.
Before it was even a thing.
Yes, yes, yes.
And
I
it
do
just grew
remember
and it
that.
grew. So I think, okay, so you mentioned you met me and that's when you started doing government contracting, but like, tell us what made you say, okay, that's it. I know you were studying it, but what made like, oh yeah, I'm doing this now.
It was you. You know that, right?
Okay,
Like,
wait a
yeah,
minute.
I
Who?
would say no, because remember you got that contract, your first one, and you was like, "Yeah, I'm trying to cash this 70 grand check." I remember that.
He's like, wait a minute, who now? Say
I was
what?
like, "What?" And I think it was for floors, right? Like something with the floors or whatever. And I was just like, how do I get in? Because I was in the education field. So I couldn't really see myself really with it. And I'm like, how do I get in doing education? And then I was like, you know what? I'm just going to kind of change. And because you said something about it being easier if you're like selling toilet tissue, or I'm still on the quest to find a contract for toilet tissue. Either
Oh
way,
no.
but like something simple. And then I realized, of course I could clean, like Army, we cleaned. And that's what I kind of did in the barracks. So I'm like, all right, I could definitely clean and kind of get in that way through the janitorial. So that's how I end up getting into GovCon. Somewhat
Okay.
like as we kind of brush past a lot of stuff. But yeah, that's how I kind of end up getting into it.
Yeah, that's all. I'm gonna rewind the clock a little bit. So for those who don't know, my first contract, I got in advance, and I've shared this story
Sure
a few
did.
times. And it was a $70,000 advance, and it was a check. And I kind of just posted on Facebook like, "Yo, this is crazy." And I do remember, like, it's kind of coming back to me that you were like, "Wait, what?"
Yep.
And but you could speak the language a little bit. We were all still kind of learning. That was my first contract, and it was local, so I was just trying to study and
Mm-hmm.
figure out what to do. But this is the funny part for me, okay, is how you got into the contract that got you that money in 1 year.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna give that the alley oop, and I want you to kind of go through that whole process because, of course, I wasn't a part of the entire process. But what had happened was March of 2020. She said she got a baby business, but she was still kind of like in the scene. And March 2020, we went to the Veterans Edge Conference, and it
Yeah.
was like
Right.
March 4th through the 8th. Yeah, it was like the 4th through
Yeah.
the 8th. So it was like days before the rest of the world shut down. And so I was actually in what's called the Accelerator Challenge. And so, you kind of go through this 1 day thing where they evaluate your business. And then they were like, after the evaluation, they said, you need to meet this guy. Should I say his name? Yeah.
You can.
Yeah.
Why
This guy
not?
named Chris. And I'm like, where's Chris? They said Chris is the savior. Where's Chris? I'm finding Chris, right? So he's at the conference. I ended up meeting with him. He was very, very helpful, very friendly, blah, 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 blah. So I was like, hey, I think I might have just mentioned to you,
Right.
I met this guy named Chris. He does facilities. I do facilities, whatever. And I just kind of like looked over my shoulder at you and was like, what industry you said you're going to do? You like janitorial. Boom. That was the end of our conversation.
Yep.
That was it. We didn't say nothing else about it. Go
Yep.
home. Maybe 2 days later, 3 days later, Chris, who I don't even remember. I don't even know if I had his number saved. He's like, hey, Sheena, you remember me? Yeah. So
He's very much like that.
yeah, just super high strung. I'm like, who is this? And he's like, yeah, I just got all these contracts for COVID cleanings. I'm like, what's a COVID cleaning? Like, what were you even talking about? Because we weren't really sure. This is
Yeah.
like with all the other disasters, Ebola and all these other things, we just
Mm-hmm.
kind of went to work and just was careful. But he was like, no, I'm about to get all the contracts in the United States.
The United
I want
States.
in the United States, and I
United
want you to
States.
take Georgia. And I'm like, okay, I
Yep.
don't even know what he's really talking about for real. And I said, oh, but by the way, you're in New York. My best friend Stephannie is in New York, and she's doing janitorial. He was like, okay, bet. Then these jokers, okay, they left me and went on and started making millions of dollars. I was like, okay.
We didn't leave you.
Y'all left me. Y'all was like Speedy Gonzalez on me. No, it was all great because
It was
I
insane
know
up
you.
here.
I was
Yes.
so excited for you, and you, like I said, you just kind of haphazardly said, "Oh, janitorial," and that's how you came to mind when he said it. So go ahead and tell your story after I done gave that That prelude.
That was a good one. But all right, if we backtrack with Veteran Edge, remember we took his class because he was teaching a GovCon class. And we were sitting in the front, like literally in the front. And I remember, and that's how we had sort of like an introduction. But I don't know, because you were doing the accelerated. It was weird. Either way, that's how we had the introduction. But then remember during the class, because what got me with him was that he said, okay, if you want to be a sub, don't really, the prime can actually finance your contract if they need you. And I remember going to Chris after, and I was like, okay, so you said the prime could finance it. How do I ask the prime? You know, like, what do I say?
Oh.
And he was like, just ask him, like, tell him you don't have any money. So when Chris called me, and me, you know, to do the contract. And I'm like, I don't have any money to finance this contract. So are you going to be willing to finance it? Because remember, I just did that LLC, and so we came back probably March 8th. I did the LLC March 13th for ACJ. And the contract started around April 3rd, right? Around there, between April 3rd and April 7th, I had to find those 40 people. But I would say during that time, yeah, I asked Chris, because 40 people, that's like $100,000. Our first payroll was over $100,000. So where in the heck, where am I gonna get that money? Right? Where? Not
nowhere. That's where.
It wasn't. Are you gonna finance this joint?
Wow. Okay, I didn't know you. I didn't realize. I don't remember.
Yeah, I definitely asked him that, because that was big, because that's how he got his first contract, was through the prime financing it too. So, and also to backtrack, when he thought he was going to get it across the United States, that's because one of his workers was working a sources sought. That's why I be telling people, don't sleep on that, because that's how we got it, through a sources sought.
Okay.
That's how he got it. That's because they didn't even respond to the sources sought. They called the contracting officer.
His people
got in touch with the contracting officer. And that's how they were able to kind of slide in without no competition for that contract.
Yo, okay. So this is something I didn't even know.
Yeah.
So sources sought, y'all. A lot of people ask me about it. I've done videos on it, talked about it. Sources sought is usually the government saying, yo, who's out there? And most people ignore it because they don't see it. They don't ever look for it. They don't know what it is. Yeah. But it's like, it's not a solicitation. It's kind of like throwing out a net and seeing what you can catch, right?
Yeah.
So she's saying that they literally just called and was like, hey, we can do it.
Yep. And because it was such an emergency situation, and we already had people, and they're like, okay, do you have the people? You know, they call me. You got the people? I got it. I got the people.
That's my friend.
Yes, I do.
That's my friend.
Whether I have it or not. But then, of course, I reached out to two ladies, Anika and Dina, who are like, you know, very helpful. And Nika, I have been talking to years prior, saying like, listen, we need to do a deal together, whatever, because she was doing construction. And even before I even had a government contract, I knew I went to work with her. And then Dina, I met through one of my army buddy, because he did security for my Champs for Autism events. I have a nonprofit in honor of my son. So he used to do security for our events, and he referred me to Dina. And so when the contract came about, I asked those two to find people. And then the people that they couldn't find, I hit Indeed. I put an ad out on Indeed, just called up people insanely through the night, like literally calling people between 8 and 10 p.m. Like, can you work? Can you show up tomorrow? Take this training first, and then show up tomorrow. And they would do it.
Yo, that went over. I know that went over y'all's heads, because when she told me she was doing that, I was like, what? I think you might have said, I got to get 40 people. And I'm like, 40? What do you mean? Like, even at that point, I was doing subcontracting, so I didn't have any employees. So I didn't even really fully know what it took to get that many people. But if anybody has ever, like, who's on right now, there's 36 of y'all, make sure y'all hit like, right? But anyone has ever tried to hire, even in an executive position at your job, If you ever tried to hire one person, that thing takes weeks. It takes weeks.
Does.
She hired 40 people in what you said 2 days? Really? Because the first day don't count. So in 2 days, you hired 40 people in the middle of the night. Imagine somebody calling you at 8 o'clock at night talking about, can you start to work tomorrow? You would have been like, hang
Not
up.
only that, it's like you got to think about COVID. I'm asking people to go to the hospital, you know, like while everybody else is not. I didn't even realize that until late. But like, you know, yeah, I'm literally asking people, hey, risk your life. But, you know, I had a lot of precautions in place. You know, I was very strict. Like I told my guys, if they don't give you the proper PPE, do not go in the rooms. Don't think that you're a hero. Like, no, you got families and stuff. So it was really like a family environment. And I know people really hate that word, family environment, but like it really was. Like I really cared about my workers.
And the fact that we didn't really know what COVID was for real, you know, like we knew it was, I mean, people were knowing about it, but we've had other scares like that before where it's like, oh, this big thing, but this was like, and then even to be able to keep at least some of them as we learned more about COVID, you know what I mean? And people were in the house. Now, the difference though, compared to a lot of the rest of us in the country is that New York and California in particular pay a lot.
Yeah, they pay a lot.
So with that, you were able to even still pay your people handsomely, right?
They were getting $39 an hour, and the supervisors were at $42 an hour.
Now, mind you, this is before the raises in the last couple of years. This is when
they're in the $60s right now. They're like in the 60s. They're up there an hour now. So
people
it's
be
up
willing. They'll be willing to wear that mask and go in there and clean. And we're talking about cleaning. And so her as a business owner, as a company owner, you know, share some of the things that, I mean, okay, so I always rag on her about this because she was spoiled in the army, right? And then I was like, my friend made $1 million and ain't touched the broom. So tell us what your role was as the boss lady in this process.
A lot of logistics, I would say, keeping the schedules together, high turnover. So even though you get the 40 people, you have people. I had a person show up and was scared and they just left. And it's just like, what do you do? You know, so it's like, you have to get another person in there. I had to keep up with the backup workers. So although I got people from Indeed, if someone didn't show up, we had, what's the name of the place?
Like a labor ready
staffing agency. Yeah, like a people ready. That's what they were called. So we would call people ready, and they'll come in within 2 hours because it was just highly important to make sure that you had staff there. Like that was my main thing. So I was always interviewing, always calling people. I was literally traveling between Queens, Brooklyn, and Manhattan in one day, like every day for like, I want to say like the first month, I probably put about 2,000 to 3,000 miles on my car. Like it was insane.
In the first what?
Month. Like it was literally insane because I lived in Jersey. So I was way out in Jersey. So I was going back and through all the boroughs. I mean, it was cool because there wasn't nobody out there, so I could find parking, and the parking meters wasn't trying to give me no tickets. So that's a good thing. But
we take our wins. Yes.
The tolls, but the logistics part of it, making sure that the staff was comfortable, making sure that they all had their PPE, talking to the contracting officer representatives, each one of them, because I had 3 to deal with, making sure that they're happy. Then reporting to the prime with the daily staff reports from 3 different locations.
Daily. Look, daily staff report, and y'all don't even want to fill out one document. She had to do a daily staff report.
Every 3 day. Different locations every single day. So, you know, making sure that the staff that is doing, you know, that would report back to me with the daily staff report had the before and after pictures, which was extremely hard. It's so annoying because it's like, I'm trying to help you. Help me to help you. Please take your before and after pictures.
Wow. And so they weren't. So someone asked janitorial. Yes, janitorial, simple valet. Wait, hold on before we go on, because there's a very key component in this that I wanted to address. Thank you so much, Nightway. Always a huge supporter. Thank you so much for the super chat. Greatly appreciated. So working with the COR.
Okay.
So I'm gonna give my prelude because a lot of people are like, oh, let's just buy them donuts, and because it's like the contracting officer, contractor, COR is contracting officer representative, which can be the person that it's supposed to be the person that works at least on site or manages on site. Now I've
Right.
experienced where the COR wasn't even in the state. I don't know how that worked.
I
None of
had
my
that in
business.
my other contract. Yeah.
Okay, so it ain't just me.
Yeah.
So people got to understand that there's multiple layers. It's not just a contracting officer. It might not even be just a contracting officer representative. It could be just like the straight up buyer as well. And the staff, y'all forgetting, there's people that work in these buildings too, and they will hang you out to dry. So
Yeah.
tell me about like your experience working with the COR. She's laughing. Oh Lord, she's laughing hard. You already know what that means.
All right. My experience, they didn't like me. Like that's just the reality of it. And I would say this. It's like your negotiation skills and your leadership skills and in government contracting is really, really important because you have to be able to really navigate that. I'm stepping in a room with it's all male dominated field where I was at. And just being a Black woman, it just, they just didn't like it. Whatever. Of course, they're not going to show it in a physical way, but they're going to nitpick at every single little thing, So it was like one of those things where I had to kind of deal with that. Only had one. The one in Queens, he was really cool. As long as the guys did their job, they were fine. The other two would really literally try to take over the staff. Like, you don't know what you're doing. Give me your staff.
Your staff.
Your staff.
Like it was their employee. Okay. Wow.
Yeah. They definitely, but overall it was okay because as long as I turned in my daily staff reports, I always try to make sure they were happy. I always tried to adjust to the things that they needed. I'm like a rubber band, The reality is I was making more money than both of them, all three of them probably put together. And I'm not gonna sit here and like kind of argue back and forth. If you feel like you're better, that's fine. I don't really care. My biggest thing was making sure that my guys stayed employed, that they, like I always told them, we're a team, do what you need to do. Don't be talking to the staff here. Like your job is to make sure that you do your job and move forward, So I just try to cover for them per se and hold my tongue because I had 40 employees. And, it's not about me at that point. It's about making sure that they're okay. So, just ensuring that they had everything that they need, report to them. And that was it.
I freaking love that because look, she's my calmest friend. Like, but if she's mad, it's going to be like, when people say she went low and I went to hell. Yeah, my friend will go all the way because she's so calm and peaceful. But if you take her there, and I was like, "How you doing today, friend?" As she was going through this, she's like, and she'll laugh just like that. And I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna leave that right where it is because I already know what's up. I don't want you to go all the way, down to where you're gonna end up hurting somebody." So, I totally get it. I want to knock out a couple of these comments. Summerwood said, I straight ignore staff emails. I deal with the specialist officer and COR. The staff really do the most and try to run the contract. Now, sometimes you are fortunate enough to ignore them, but sometimes it'd be in your best interest to befriend them because sometimes they, you don't know what kind of weight they hold. Now, you obviously know your situation, so it works for you, but sometimes
some of them die. The COR, the one in Manhattan, he, what was the first month? I got like 50 emails from him.
50.
And I had to respond to every last one of them. Every last one of them. All politely or whatever. The as per my last email. The polite way, as per.
That's always a tactic.
And he would add in a lot of lies. Like he was just the main one. That's why it's so important on these contracts to CYA. Cover your ass.
Ooh, oh, you got my friend Cassie. Oh my God. Look. This is probably the third time.
The daily staff reports is like and I really, like, a lot of people overlook that, but it really takes out a lot of conversation. It makes
It
them
does.
mad too, ironically. It's like, you took a picture of it? Yeah, there's a picture of the trash being empty that you said wasn't empty.
It
Like,
makes a huge difference.
it
Janitorial
does.
is subjective like that. Y'all had my friend cuss. She don't cuss. This is probably the third time I ever heard you cuss. Like,
I know.
it's okay. This is a safe
It's
space.
so
It's a safe
funny.
space. Jeff B said, "Hi, Sheena and Stephanie. Happy Monday. Gubba tears,
Hi.
peace and love. Shout out to my baby girl. Thank you. That's my daughter, y'all.
Oh,
For the super chat.
look
Thank you,
how
baby.
cute she
Thank you.
is. Hi, Nadia.
Isn't she adorable, my boo?
Yes.
Summer was girl. I had a COR not talk to me the entire contract. The range is what look good. Don't talk to me unless it's
It's
about my if
insane.
anything to do with my money. That's it. Mercedes. Shout out to Mercedes. Also a GovCon money maker up in here.
Nice.
Yes, I love it. Yeah, make sure y'all ask your questions. So now you're in the contract. She ain't touched the broom. She's protecting her people. And that is a huge thing. Making sure your people are, because what they'll do, like she said, take over the staff and they'll just start telling your people what to do. And if your people don't know, they're not supposed to
Hmm.
do certain things, or maybe they're just like, I don't want, I don't do, deal with conflict, and they just do it. It could be against your contract. Like it
Yeah.
could actually hurt your contract if they're not aware. So a lot of people will say, I'm just gonna find somebody else to do it. So Chris essentially hired her as a sub. What if she just didn't care? Like, what if she didn't like cover
Hmm.
her people? What if she was just like, "Oh, it's your problem. You're the prime." That's where a lot of people are being very, very irresponsible because
Yeah.
this is her business, regardless if she had a prime or not. She took care of home. She took care of what she was supposed to take care of to make sure everybody looks good. That's the premise, right?
Yeah.
You want to expound on that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I would feel like my prime was completely basically hands off for the most part through the whole contract. And it was just like, and for him, it was tough because the guy that he had, his project manager quit. And then once his project manager quit, I had to kind of be the project manager for my company and for his company. So it became, it was a big deal, but it worked out well. But it's really, really important to just be as, because me and my prime, we definitely went back and forth. We definitely had some lawyers involved. But it's one of those things where I would say, as long as you communicate effectively, as long as you keep your paperwork together, you'll be okay, but
Right.
it is what it is with it.
She's saying it is what it is because it's
It's what
easy for
it is.
her. It's easy for her. She's like, what's the big deal? Like, it's just, I love it. Though. I love it. I love it. So thank you so much, Summer Woods,
Army,
supporting
huh?
Whore. You know what I'm saying? Appreciate you tremendously. I love it. I love it. So we got a few questions that popped in. So we're gonna take a pause and answer some of those. Summer Woods said, how did you handle HR with such a fast staffing rep of 2 days? Look, I couldn't do it. I'm gonna tell y'all right now, okay? I pride myself in being a pretty decent business person. I'm not doing it. I would have been like, nope, I can't do the contract. 2 days, finding 40 people, I'm not doing it. And this woman was
She
like,
would have did it because I would have been like, Sheena, you got to be crazy. We're going to get this contract done. She would have did it.
money.
She would have did it.
I know. I maybe if she had been in my ear, I would have been like, okay, Stephanie, all right, I'm gonna do it. But she don't see any boundaries. You heard her say all these different businesses she has. She doesn't see the boundaries. And she had no idea how it was gonna work out. But she's like, nah, let's
I
try it. What's gonna
didn't.
happen? Ain't nobody gonna beat me up. So let's go. Okay, go ahead.
All
I just had
right.
to say.
So HR was kind of on the go. I kind of utilized what I used to do with the daycare, and when they would call, I had some stuff online, so I would do a phone interview, very basic, like super duper basic, because I just wanted to know if you knew how to do the things that I needed you to do. So if it was like, if I asked you, can you strip and wax the floor? Detail from beginning to end, how can you strip and wax the floor? Because we literally stripped and waxed over 1 million square feet. Did I tell you that? It was insane, but we stripped. It was
No.
insane. So then when they would show up, I had different forms there. I had I think it was the I-9, the W-4. It was very paper and pen. And then I had company we use, the payroll company.
ADP.
ADP. Yes. I work with ADP. I called them up. ADP set up all the payroll things that I needed to do. They were the ones that warned me, like, okay, because I was actually over 40. And they said, if you hit over 50, now you have to have the health insurance and all of that stuff. So I set up with ADP, everything needed to do, because I didn't know anything about payroll taxes. So I made sure to get the highest package with ADP, because they do your payroll taxes. You don't really have to worry about too much. Only thing that was tricky was the first payroll. That was insane, because I thought when, my last job, which was 2007, it was you cash the check and that was it. I thought they automatically pull it out of your account and kind of hold it. But I had to, they didn't do that, ADP. So it was just like, I had people call, because remember, my guys I dealt with a lot of people that were on parole, probation, ex-con, like just a lot of people like that. And they were older. So they were still utilizing the check cash in place. So the first payroll that came out, I had to have the printout of all of their checks, their check numbers, and how much was in each check. And I would have to pull over on the road to answer these questions because they check needed to be cashed. So I had to kind of go back to ADP and tell them, listen, take it out, have them call you, set that part up. And yeah, I hope that answered the question, but that's kind of, it was really on the go in the beginning. And then after that, later, I hired a virtual assistant through Belay, which Sheena did a live about Belay. I hired a virtual assistant through them, and she kind of took over all the HR needs from there.
That's amazing. Yeah, shout out to Belay, because they are, to me, like, I know a lot of people have virtual assistants overseas and stuff, which not knocking it. Sometimes it works. But Belay finds you somebody that really matches like what you need and your personality for the most part. You're gonna pay a little bit more, but it's still, to me, it takes the stress out of trying to find somebody. They find someone for you, you do a meeting, and then you live happily ever after. So shout out to Belay. And she's the one. It's funny because I read a book. It was called Virtual Culture before COVID. And then she went to Belay without us ever having that conversation. And I was like, wait a minute, I read a book about this company. So it's really, really good. And if you need more information about that, I'm gonna put it in the description. But like that really, I know that saved you, because you were doing to do just HR yourself is like the most ridiculous amount of torture you can ever have. And you were going up to the sites and negotiating and talking to them. You was like, you was doing everything.
I was literally a ping pong. Yeah, my husband was worried because I wasn't getting sleep. He was just like, you just got back home, you're out. Because I'll come home, I'll be home by 1, probably fall asleep by 3, and back out by 7. And I did that for a while. And I don't never get him worried about stuff like that, because he knows I'm always crazy. But when he's worried, like, yo, you're not, when he says you're not sleeping, I'm like, wait a second, maybe I'm not asleep. Maybe I'm not.
3 a.m., took a nap and got up at 7. Look, some of y'all could never, respectfully. That's a lot. That's the dedication it takes to get to $1 million in 1 year with one contract. This is her. I just got to really highlight that, because I don't think everybody really fully understands. This woman was doing business, For me, I was like, look, I was really selling tumblers on Etsy. I wasn't making a whole lot of money with my other businesses. Like, it wasn't for real. Like, I had a brick and mortar, but it wasn't like, I didn't have my heart in it. But like, for this woman to step into this thing, like, see what happens, and doing $100,000 payrolls, like hiring people on the spot, pulling over to answer questions, printing out paper check. That's where I draw the line. I'm not printing out no paper check.
Printing out paper.
Not doing it. You won't work here. You won't work here. She's like, but I can't, because I'm like, girl, you are nice. So she did all this as the sub. So it's like she was really working like a prime, because the prime was secured the deal. Right. And she was working like a prime because she's talking to all the people that need to be talked to, and the employees and all that kind of stuff. So it's like, in a negative way, even though it's a great thing, it's like pick your poison, right? It's like whether you want to be a prime or a sub or deal with this or deal with that, you're always going to have a lot of stuff going on. And like, I'm just so impressed by her. I'll be telling everybody, I'm like, my friend, like she the truth. She's doing stuff that I probably wouldn't be doing for real. So I just always tip my hat to you. And get a couple more of these questions. So make sure y'all hit like up in here. If you haven't hit like, hit like. A night way, always a supporter, of course. How did you learn the art of invoicing, and also with all the blessings that are coming in taxes?
Oh, taxes was wonderful. Let me stop. Taxes is something. I'm still paying off that tax bill.
Girl, don't even
3 years later. The art of invoicing, I knew about invoicing prior. So when I knew the contract was coming, what I did was I set up my QuickBooks and kind of set up everything that way. I would tell you this, I wish I invoiced more, because everything was moving so fast that I would literally just email the prime the numbers and they would wire me the money. It was just that, like,
wow.
So I don't really have a high track record of the invoicing, just because I set it up, but I wasn't paying attention. I was doing all these things. So, yeah, but QuickBooks makes it real easy to do invoicing.
It does. And like, we use QuickBooks, and a lot of people will say it's not DCAA compliant, but it is a way that you got to do it. You just have to really segment each contract and each portion of the contract. Like if you have separate buildings and separate tasks and stuff, you just have to segment those things. So QuickBooks is DCAA compliant. You just have to really, set it up the way that it's supposed to be set up. And like, with that, again, you're kind of like figuring the things out and still moving through each portion of it without knowing every single thing.
Yeah.
And are you gonna suffer later? Maybe a little bit, but it's all practice, right? It's all training. And that's why I tell a lot of people before they even get a contract, if they feel like they're gonna do this, that they need to set all this stuff up ahead of time. Like this was so rando. This was rando. Yeah, like in 2 weeks, she was hit the ground running, like without any thought of like, let me go out and start bidding on contracts. It didn't even work out like that. So
to be honest, it's like we didn't know this was going to be such a big contract. The idea was I was supposed to work for 4 months, and it was going to be 100. Remember, it was supposed to be 150 grand profit. That just that 4 months, and it ended up, they liked us so much because we did very good work, and they liked the management portion of it, that they kept us on throughout the whole year. They kept renewing the contract. They kept renewing it.
I love that. That's right. This is what got me excited.
Yeah, they kept renewing it.
When she said how much her profit was per month, I was like, what?
Yeah, I didn't believe him. I was just like, yeah, he's just, because remember, crazy guy. That's what I call him.
Crazy guy.
He was like, yeah, you can make 150 grand these next 4 months. And I said, yeah, okay. My main focus, which is not a lot of people's, because I know a lot of people's for profit, of course, but at the beginning, it was just like, I wanted that, what's it called? That resume. I wanted to build up my background and my past performance in government contracting. And I knew this was going to be a way to do it, at least working with the VA, and everything else was, cherry on top. Yeah. Like, it was like the cherry on top, but my main focus was that. And then the fact that I was working for this prime, Chris, and we're all a part of IVMF. I just wanted to work extra hard, because it's like, if this works out well, then it's going to expand my network, and more people are either going to want to work with my company, or I'll get to know more contracting officers through this. So I just like really looked at the opportunity as a big door opening.
That's how you got to do it, right? Because you never know how the contract is going to come about, and this came about literally because and what's funny is, circle back to you, she's the one that told me about IVMF, right? So I went to VWise, and then I went to EBV, and then we went to Veterans Edge, right? And so then that Veterans Edge for 2020, I almost didn't go. Do you remember? Because I was like, I ain't got no money. I ain't got no money. I ain't got no
Well, yeah, and
end.
then you got accepted into the acceleration
He was like,
challenge.
no, still try to go. And I was like, I ain't going. Nope,
Like, you
nope, nope.
gotta go.
And you were like, you gotta go. And I was like, fine, let me put in this, put in this application. And then I got it. And then
Yep.
I was able to circle it back around to my friend. Like that's
And
what
you
this
was
is
like
about.
literally a superstar at that conference. Everybody's like, Sheena, Kev.
Oh,
I'm like, I
whatever.
don't know
You
you.
too.
I
You
don't
too.
even
Don't do
know
that.
who you are.
You are the superstar. They got her doing stuff in New
Period.
York and everything. Stop playing with her. I love that fact that it started off Facebook long time
Yeah.
ago, and then it just circled back into this thing that we built, and it's just like it warms my heart. So with that, like y'all didn't do the math. 4 months, 150,000. What is that? What is that amount? 40,000 profit
Yeah. A month.
month
A
as a
month.
sub. The first contract out the gate. And look, she didn't have to put up no money. She didn't even put up no money. This is
Zero.
profit day one. This is profit day
Mhm.
one. So, girl, I've been waiting on mine. I've been waiting on my payday like that. I was like, look, where can I not spend no money to
Waiting.
get money?
Waiting. You there. Beyond there.
I want it like that way you got it. I want it just like that. I'm just saying. Okay, so I'm getting goofy. So Carl, what is it, Barreau? God bless you in your efforts. The reason most people don't strive is because don't get their blank and work. They don't want to work. That's a fact though. They
Yeah.
don't. And it's look, you don't even have to work hard, right? Stephannie went to janitorial. She knew if she had to step in, but she didn't have to step in. She didn't touch a broom.
Yeah.
So it's like you got to be willing to do it, not
Mhm.
necessarily that you have to do it. The goal is to not have to do any of this stuff, and you the one, the salesperson, or maybe not even that, and you just build your business so you can sell it and then go lay up on the beach or whatever your heart desire, right? Whatever that
Yeah.
is.
I mean, the biggest, I be telling my husband this all the time because he don't be understanding. If you work in your business, you are the biggest liability because it's just like if you're working, then how are you growing the business? If something happens to you, that's the end of the entire business, you know? And a lot of people will be like, oh, why you don't try to do this and try to do that? No, it's better because the business has to run. And how is it going to run if I'm doing all the work? It just won't. Like it was during that time, even though I didn't pick up a broom, it was extremely hard to grow the business because this contract took up all of my time. If I had a project manager, then I could have worked somewhere, I could have did something else additional. So I always look at it as just yeah, I'm in a meeting. I always look at it as just being able to give yourself a promotion. Like if you start out, like when I first started, I was like, okay, I'm gonna build my past performance by cleaning luxury buildings because I don't do very picky.
So she's a boss. She's a boss brat.
Yeah, I'm very picky. So I was cleaning luxury apartments and I'm like, okay, I could kind of do that, get this real estate company under me and stuff because you could use civilian, for lack of better words, other stuff that you do for government contracting. So I was building through that and I was fine that way. But then I know like eventually I'm not going to stay cleaning. I'm going to get workers to come and do whatever they need to do. But long story short, if you don't get nothing out of it, get out of working out in your business because if you do, you're your biggest liability.
Woo, you said it for real. You giving yourself a job and you have to take yourself out of that. You can't think clearly when you're running around, whether it's cleaning or even managing. Like you really
Yeah.
can't think clearly. Somebody else has to be that. Now, if you feel like, you know what, I am actually like do a self-evaluation because people just think, well, I could do it all, but you really can't. Like nobody can
No.
literally do it all. But if you know that I really truly am the best salesperson in my business, I'm gonna hire someone else to manage the blah blah blah.
Right.
So let yourself be the best of whatever it is that you do. And like if you're doing your own books, you're doing all that own stuff. I would almost say even accountants outsource their accounting because
Yeah.
it's very tedious. It takes a lot of time and it's a lot of stress. And another thing that you said to me to really get me on my stuff about paperwork, you were like, "Oh man, this stuff is so deep. It's about to make me tear up." She said, if I die, my employees won't get paid. And I was like, yo, that's that's like so real because
So
people
true.
are literally depending on you for their livelihood. And if you ain't
Mhm.
got your ish together, who taking care of them?
Yeah.
if you really care about your people, who is taking care of them? Like, you got to have so many things in order. Being a business owner is not a fly by night. So stop throwing
Mm-mm.
stuff up against the wall saying, oh, I'm just going to see what happens. But like, in this process, so many things happen to people, like the
It
leaders,
does.
the primes, the subs, the employees,
Yeah.
so it's just a lot. You just have to really, really be ready for this, like as a business owner, right? Right. Hit like if you just join in. Thank you. There's a lot of people on here, girl. They here for you. They here for you. Okay. The journey within the journey says, if I wanted to go after janitorial contract and don't have employees yet, should I try to get employees first before submitting my proposal? I'll let you
Um,
answer.
that's a good question. I did both simultaneously because I'm crazy. I would say, I don't know, because janitorial is really hard in that if you get them before you even have a contract, the odds is by the time you get the contract, the worker's working for somebody else because it's that type of environment. I would say to have some people on standby that may want to work the contract, but no, you don't necessarily need employees before you go after the janitorial contract.
And I would even say, because I mean, I think me and Stephanie both do subbing and hiring employees. It just depends on what we got
Yeah.
to do, right? So with me, I do make a lot of relationships with janitorial companies.
Yep.
I really, and same thing with you, right? So having that makes it a lot easier. Like, okay, look, I got some work. I might have some work coming up, and
Hmm.
you have that conversation first. You build that relationship first. The employee part is the employee part, like she said, and especially if you're talking about, you might have employees on standby, and then the contract you win these background checks. That's going to always wipe
Oh
out
my.
half,
Yeah.
at least half of any janitorial or any of those labor type of jobs. It's going to wipe out half.
Yep.
So either they don't want to do it, or they're not going to be able to pass, or it's going to take too
Yeah.
long. So yeah, having something beforehand would really be like the relationships with subs, janitorial
Yeah.
subs.
The reason why mine was so easy during that time was because it was for an emergency. So it was like they weren't even doing background checks. It literally was, if you're breathing and can make it to this hospital.
At least one arm and one leg.
Yes, we need all hands on deck. But it was different from my FAA contract, right? That's
Yes,
with the Federal Aviation Administration.
let's talk
They are
about it.
a lot more strict. So it's like I had people it was a hard contract to find workers, because I would have people for it, but they weren't passing the background check because they could not have been arrested within the past 7 years. So it made it a lot harder to be able
Arrest.
to, yeah, yeah. You
Like, everybody's been arrested. Like, let me stop. Everybody hasn't been arrested, but like, not a felony, not a misdemeanor. They said if you had them cuffs and you got
yeah.
booked,
Yeah, yeah. It
wow.
made it a lot harder. And you never know, you can't like negotiate the type of person they are. It was just a yes or no. You know what I'm saying? Like they can't work here. So they were extra strict. Like you could not get in that building without passing the background check. No,
So
because when we first started, they messed up on the background check. So they had to have a worker follow us while we cleaned. Could you imagine that? They were
no.
following us step by step while we clean. Yeah.
If anybody's ever cleaned with like their mama on their back or something like that, or that is a very stressful thing, especially with a new employee, because they're like, what is going on? Like,
Yeah. Yep. They
what?
have to
So
go
tell
through
us
that.
about that contract, because that actually, I'm glad you brought it up, because
If I never see it again.
like, I've heard some great things about the FAA, not really, but like even how you got it when you bid on it and all that. Tell us about that.
Yeah, that was like a sole source because first they emailed me. They emailed me and asked me to bid on it. And then I lost. I lost that January. But then they came back because the person who won couldn't perform. So then they came back and asked me to bid again. And then they took my numbers for it. And then after that, it was just really hard trying to get people to pass. I found one person to pass, but then a location. That's a crazy thing too. I didn't even think about that. I'm one that really learns as I go. So the location was not accessible here in New Jersey, and a lot of people that do janitorial, they probably live in northern New Jersey where you don't necessarily need a car for transportation because it's a lot like New York City. But in Morristown, which is like central New Jersey, you need a car to get to that location. So the people that didn't drive were eligible, but they couldn't make it to work. So long story short, I had to like provide Ubers and Lyfts to get people, remember? Yeah, that took my whole profit to get people to and from that freaking contract. Eventually, my husband just took it over and he cleaned for me there.
That's okay. I forgot. Look, you were just like so over it. I don't even think you talked about it anymore.
Yeah, like
But
it's
it
so
was
far in the back of my brain.
I didn't want to bring up any old wounds, but I really, you even forgot a part because I remember I was actually at the airport. Like I think my flight was delayed, and we were talking about it. And you're like, "This company won, but their numbers cannot be accurate." And so you went, yeah. Tell us about that.
I totally, yeah. So I forgot about that. Yeah. So they won, and their numbers weren't accurate. And I called the contracting officer, and we literally sat down for 45 minutes on the phone, number by number, me explaining to her why there's no way that this person could perform at that number in particular. And she understood, but then she was like, well, we have to go with them. And then eventually they came back to me because they couldn't perform. There was no way. I was still like, there's no way they could do it. There's no way.
So what made that, like, what was the red flag for that? Was it like the wages? Was it the
It was
supply?
the wages because they were looking for 7 days a week. It was a 365-day contract.
Oh, wow.
And one cleaning a day. So it was just like the numbers wasn't working. They were really, really low, like really low. And the wages, it's like we had to pay about $25 an hour, but then you put the 25 plus your payroll taxes, plus your profit, plus all of that stuff, whatever. You're going to end up at probably like 35, 37 an hour that you should be charging the FAA. And they were still at like 20 an hour, fully burdened because you still had to put in the supplies too. They wanted you to provide all the toilet tissue, all the soap, all the napkins, So there's no way, absolutely no way that they were going to be able to do it.
There's so many.
That was a contracting assistant. Now I meant to say that because you got the assistant, you got the contracting officer representative, you got the contracting officer. It's just insane. But this was the actual assistant that really had no clue what she was doing.
There's so many lessons in that. That's why I wanted you to share it. So first thing, contracting assistant. Everybody thinks everyone is a contracting officer. No, she's the one that told me, Stephannie is the one that told me about the contracting assistants also being government contractors. So they were awarded a contract to be a contracting assistant. And they may be just as dumb as the rest of us. Like, this is our first time ever doing this. And this is the first time ever doing that. And so all that contracting assistant is looking at is like, oh, it's cheap numbers. But like she said, if you have the wage determination or Davis-Bacon, whatever you want to call it, and by law, you have to pay this person this amount, and it's anything less than that amount, the person is just trying to undercut, and it's going to cost the government in the end. So that's one thing, right? And then the fact that she said, no, this ain't right, ma'am, okay? And was willing to check them on it. So when y'all lose sometimes, you got to say, wait a minute. And it didn't even require a protest.
Yeah, it didn't require a protest, no.
This is why I say she be like, I'm going to try it and just see what happens. And you admitted defeat and was like, okay, I didn't get it. They're gonna end up being in a bad
I did say that. I was like, they're gonna come back again. I sure did say that.
And they circled the block. They spun the block. And she got the contract. She didn't have to protest or nothing. That's why we bounce off of each other because sometimes I'll even admit defeat and I'm like, okay. But she's like, I don't care. You gotta basically tell me hell to the no for me to not do it. I'm gonna go after and try to see it. That's what I just love about my friend. I just love it. I love it. Okay, so make sure y'all hit like on the way in. So you got a lot of beautiful comments coming in. Super dope. Wow. Stephannie, you're a real one. And she said, I'll do it. I'll do it. No problem. And Mercedes said, I love the information because I've been avoiding getting employees for this reason. But then can I just share this about employees if you want to add something, Stephannie? So when my bookkeeper is like, "Yo, Sheena," because I pay my subs very well, and
Mhm.
my bookkeeper was like, "You're paying a lot for your subs," and I'm like, "Well, what's the alternative?" She
Yeah, she
said,
don't be
"Hire them."
playing.
Huh?
Janelle don't be playing.
Look, I was
Yeah.
like, and she said the alternative is to hire them internally. And I'm like, but that's how people are able to save. They get enough of the contracted money in order for you to have the employees and be able to keep them gainfully employed, even if they're on a different contract. So it's like, yeah, but then also if the contract is not super robust, because they're not all gonna be super robust. I don't care what they're talking about
Right.
on the internet, and that's the only way for you to make any money.
Yeah, I'm with you. I enjoyed my employees. I did. There's some that really got on my last nerves, but for the most part, I enjoyed them. I think that if you treat them well, that they will treat you well. Communication is highly important, and don't be afraid to fire fast. Like I'm like so upfront, and I always let my employees know, like from the gate, I give out happy checks, we do happy checks over here, which means like every time I pay you, I'm very excited to pay you, and you should be very excited to get paid. And it's just a lot of stuff that you say up front. I don't accept a lot of excuses. So I would
Facts.
tell them, no show, no call, no show, no job, like up front. It's so important. And just having everything in writing. So it's like by the time you get fired from me, there's no back and forth. Like, you were wrong. It's just like, you already know. I'm going to talk to you about it. We're going to go over it. But if we don't, it is what it is. But for the most part, my employees, they still are reaching out to me, asking me about additional contracts. Like, had a
Golly,
good
that's
time with them.
no, that's
Even
good.
the FAA contract, my employee had a opportunity to continue the contract, because they could take over if you're not doing it. So the new person that wanted to keep my employee, but he didn't like him. He was like, "No, I want to work for you." He just didn't.
Hey,
They did not mesh, and he left. He left. I don't know what they did, because I know it's really hard to find people for that location, but yeah, it didn't work out.
and that's really important. Like I really believe in treating their employees well, because I mean I've had over 35 jobs, so I know I was a shitty employee a lot of those times. And then sometimes I was amazing. You know what I'm saying? So I'm getting all my karma back. So I'm karma full. Okay. I don't need any more stress with any
Yeah,
employees. I got it all back. But like it is important to treat anyone that you work with, partners, like just do
partners.
right.
Yeah,
Just do
subs.
right. Subs, do right. And even your prime, you know what I mean? Like sometimes people I've seen people like overcharge and the prime is not really, maybe they're not savvy and whatever. And it's like that stuff comes back around. So you just want to do good business. That's the main premise. So Ronnie McCoy said, West Coast, hello, Ronnie McCoy, business
Hey,
enterprise.
I know
Okay.
Ronnie.
Okay, what's
Hey,
up? Shout
Ronnie.
out to Ronnie. Ronnie in the building. And Alex Garza said, staying ready so you don't have to get ready. The hustle is real. It's so true.
Yes.
So true. And Summer was very much impressed. I told y'all. Y'all didn't believe me. I told y'all. And Jessica Power, awesome. Off the 1 million. How much do you say was profit? You missed it. She said she got 150 in 4 months in
Yeah.
profit. That wasn't the contract amount. That was profit. Jessica, profit.
In total, it was close to 400 grand profit in total.
Yo, first contract as a sub. I didn't even know that.
But that's a good question, because so many people are throwing out there. They be like, "I got a $2 million contract and made like $20." No, it's a good question.
Oh God, they made $20. Look,
But you
that
know what? It's still good if they made $20, because it's like you got that $2 million track record for the bank. Like that shows your company is making some revenue. So either way, it still opens up doors.
it does. So let me not because I've had some negative contracts. Like I went in, I was paying the government.
The
So
FAA contract for me, same thing. I just want to ball it up. I
just
shouldn't
remember
have.
one time. But it,
Yes.
like you said, it was an FAA contract at the end of the day. And
Yes.
so
Hmm.
this is real business talk. This is not the cute stuff on the internet. Anyone that's ever had any type of business, government contracting or not, they've been through ebbs and flows. And so I've had very high profit contracts, actually as a sub, a couple of them. And then there was somewhere I was like, I'm so glad this thing over. Like, thank the Lord. Like, well, how many more days? Let's get out of here.
Like, please don't ask me to renew. I don't want to. Don't.
No gracias. We don't want to renew over here.
Feel
Okay?
mutual about each other.
Right. It was like, bye. Goodbye. Okay. So yes, taxes are so rude. Just tuning in. Hey, y'all. Hey, Queen Believe. You need this ASAP. Yeah. I don't know which part you were talking about because we didn't talk about a few things since 5:40. Okay. Just join. Good evening. Congrats. Helena said, congrats. Was this contract in your state or another state? She might have came in a little late.
Yeah, it was in New York. I'm in New Jersey. So not far. Kentucky is right there.
She said she put 3,000 miles on her car in 1 month, like 30 days, 3,000 miles. That's so crazy. Tempest Barnes said, hey, girl. Okay, the Navy also. Okay, so I had a Navy contract. It wasn't that bad, but
I heard the Navy wasn't fun. But I don't think anybody's as bad as the FAA.
I've only heard bad things about the FAA. Like, I've never heard anyone said, I love this FAA contract. I've never heard it. So I will. What'd you say?
I said, yeah, I don't think anybody is as bad. They're very demanding.
Because they're, it's kind of like when you work with, it sounds weird, but like high intellect people, like pilots and IT people, they're just always so difficult. I was an IT person, so I can say that, but it's always like, oh my God, why do we got to go through all this?
They can be. And then they think they better. And janitorial too, is just like you deal with a lot of people that think they better than you. And you got to be humble enough and okay with that. Like, you just have to be. I'll get emails like, I didn't hear the vacuum in 3 months.
3 months?
Yeah. Ooh, I didn't hear it. I didn't hear the vacuum in 3 months.
Look, and then they'll say like, I didn't hear the vacuum in 3 months, but I only come into work once a week. You're like, there's no way you serious right now. Like,
no, they're very serious. Very
serious.
This lady would stay in her office with a sign that says, do not knock, do not disturb. She did not want to see people, not even her staff. But she didn't hear the vacuum. So I had to tell my worker, because he'd be like, going back and forth. I'm like, just vacuum in front of her office. Not that big of a deal. You're going to get paid anyway. Just
bump the door. Bump the door with the vacuum.
Yes. Like, oh, my bad. I'm sorry. Do you hear it?
Want to make sure you heard it. And that's another
emails. I'm sorry. I just want to make sure that you heard the vacuum today. We want to make sure that you're happy.
You got to be petty sometimes. Like, and that's, I know we're like joking, but those are the things that get people fired off a contract. Like, we almost got fired off a contract because people didn't hear us using the carpet cleaning machine, but it was a quiet carpet cleaning machine, and it was an empty building. Out of, I think there was supposed to be 10,000 workers, and there was like 200. So there was only 200 working in there, and they're like, we didn't hear nothing. Well, you were in the west wing of this 2 million square foot building. Like, those are the things that get people fired. So this is like, we joking, but this is real. You know what I'm saying? So you found your people. That's right. That's right. Nightway. Do you have any certifications that you would say helped you on your journey? Or would you say, although you have some, the outcome of securing these jobs were more about networking and relationships? Great question.
Love that question. I was actually going to do a thing on this too. No, the certifications didn't help me on the journey. I would say networking and relationships helped more. I got my certifications after I had already had my first contract. I wasn't even a part of SAMS yet. Because remember, I was not even a part of SAM.gov yet when I got this first contract. So I worked on my certifications during that time. And let's see, I only have one contract now because of my certification. That was 3 years later I got that contract. That's a state contract that I have. And that was because of myself. And you know what's funny? I had this contract going on a year. They hired us because of the certification, which is the MWBE for Port Authority. But they just asked for the physical certification this past like Friday, and we've been there for a year. So it's just like, it helps. I'm not saying it doesn't help. Certifications absolutely helps, but I think that as minorities, we're pushed to not do contracts until we get our certifications. Like that's just pushed in your head. Like I can't tell you how many people told me I can't bid because I don't have a certification. And it's just like you can bid even if you don't have a certification. Because if you think about it, the majority of contracts are held, I think, by the Caucasians, right? Like the majority of them. And it's just like they don't have certification, so how can they win, right? If they, it's like that means you don't need a certification just to bid. You know, just get out there, network, work with them. Everybody's willing. That's why I like government contracting, because it's like one of those things where we all have to work together. You really do. You kind of need each other. It's a real networking type of thing. So no, I would say get the certifications, but don't depend on it solely.
And don't let that be the stop from you bidding or networking. Like I've had people that I've talked about certifications, I swear, ad nauseum. Like I feel like I've talked about it over and over, and it's still a question. And I'm glad you asked. I'm not saying don't ask. Because her experience is going to be different than mine, and so on. Some people, their first contract was because of a certification, so they believe strongly in those. But I would say my personal opinion is that my local certifications have been way more beneficial than the federal. And then on top of what she just said, if you look at the percentage, right? So you got 100%, right? Government contracts. And then you have 20% is set aside for small businesses. So just being a small business, 20% of federal contracts. And then you got 5 for women. And I think, what did they say that the SDVOSB just went up to 5? So 5 for SDVOSB. And then you got 8% for 8A. So it's like, so if you're talking about adding them all up, that's still more than 50% of all contracts don't have any certification. And that's just for federal. Just for federal. So get it? Yes.
You're right, Sheena. Locally, the certifications help. But I would say federally, SDVOB helped me, I guess. That's how I got the FAA, I think. Yeah. They were looking for SDVOBs. Yeah.
And I think the certifications are like the federal ones are depending on where you stay. This is a Sheena-ism, right? She has gotten some like communication because of her SDVOSB up north. Down here, 8A rules. 8A certification rules in the South. I don't know. And I'm just going to say it. Like, I know I have all demographics, but I think because, especially in Atlanta, it's heavily minority based. That's why a lot of them will look for the 8A certification, even though it's sole source, but SDVOSB can be sole source too. But ain't nobody calling me down here about SDVOSB. They calling me, you got your 8A? And I'm like, dang, what about the other certifications? You know what I'm saying? So
Texas,
just
go to Texas.
Go to Texas. Yeah, Texas is a very unique,
very military friendly.
Very military friendly. Very military friendly. So you would have been a bus driver, right. I knew y'all from the East Coast. I'm from Massachusetts, you know what I'm saying? I've been in Atlanta for a long time, but you know what I'm saying?
More Atlanta than Massachusetts, but we're not going to go over that whole.
We're not. Because I'm gonna get you here to Atlanta anyway. So all that's gonna be voided, all that conversation. So Summerwood says she's from Jersey. Shout out where you from specifically. Yes. Do you need to start your business structure before looking to do government contracting for new businesses? I think you kind of answered that at the beginning. Yeah,
I would say yes. Like have everything together, because like you said, if you are already ready, you don't have to get ready. So I had a lot of things together before, like workers, I had to get workers comp last minute. So having knowledge of how to do these things as well. You might not have it all together, but you need to have that knowledge on how to do it fast. I already knew how to do my own LLC. Getting your insurances together, knowing that you probably need the general liability, the umbrella insurance, your workers' comp, those things. Having money aside a bit for workers' comp, because you do got to put down some money for workers' comp, some upfront money. Workers' comp, very annoying.
Very annoying, very expensive.
But definitely have your structure together. If it's one thing, like with my tax person, if I would have known it was going to be over, like it was a little over $1 million that year. But if I would have known it was going to be over that, I would have set up the tax structure differently, because I was an LLC. It would have been better to kind of be an S corp, but I didn't know. I really wasn't expecting anything. It was just like, I wasn't expecting nothing. So it's like little things like that. But it's not a big deal to me because it was a good lesson learned, but I would say definitely have that knowledge.
Something, like at least and you know, I'm a goof, so be able to spell business. Like, even if you're an executive, I'm just saying, like, you gotta have the fortitude. It don't matter if you're selling oranges on the street, right? And
Yeah.
even if I will even say there's a lot of people I know that were in executive positions at their job. You guys count too, because you're usually managing quite a bit. Now everything's different when you got to run that payroll out your own pocket,
Yep.
but still, it's like you have to be able to like think on the fly. Like, I literally on the way getting ready to do this live, I'm like flying home, getting ready because we had to meet before this live, and one of my contractors said some, boy, I was fuming. My head was like, zzz. I was so mad, and I had to like bring myself down. I'm like, okay, that just happened. I'll deal with that after the call. And then, you know, you got to be able to like stick and move. You know what I mean? Nobody
Yeah.
has sympathy for you. Like, you know, you
Ever.
got to ever. You got to build a strong team, a strong network. You know what I mean? Real talk vibes. I did not see a question. I'm sorry. Please re-ask. Mercedes said all of my contracts are out of state. So it's easier to hire a sub that is self-sufficient, but they absolutely are taxing. I'm looking into getting employees for a local facility management contract. Well, you know, we on the line, Mercedes. Like, you shouldn't even be putting this out. You know who to call. You know who to call, because all my contracts are out of state too. So I'll let your girl and Stephanie. Stephanie's done. When she called me talking about I'm going to Kentucky, I was like, what? She's like, I want a contract in Kentucky.
That
I'm
was
like,
so random, right? I
so
be forgetting
random.
about that Kentucky contract, but that was so random. Even when I was getting on a plane to Kentucky, I'm like, what? How in the hell am I going to Kentucky? I never thought. It was good though. It was nice.
It was nice.
That was one of the best kind. Like, if I could find, and that was from a sub, and if I could find his workers literally work. It was supposed to be 3 days changing the floors. They did that joint in a day and a half. Like, they worked through the whole entire night. I'm like, how do you find these types of workers? Those were the best workers I ever saw. Ever. They were not. They got done. They called me at like 3, 4 in the morning. Like, we're finished. Like, you're what? You're what? They
only
were
took a
really
day.
good.
Look,
Yes.
a quick flip. That was like a quick flip. And so, do you mind sharing the numbers on there, or like your
That
profit or
was the
whatever?
lower one. That was like that was actually no profit with that one. It was just
Mm.
actually getting through the door. That one was a 20 grand one, probably like a $200 or $300 profit, not a big profit, but it's sort of back to what you said, because life is lifing during that time. So I would say when I was bidding on that contract, my daughter was getting ready to go into surgery. So I'm working on the numbers, and I'm literally at the hospital because it keeps my mind off of stuff. And I'm working on the numbers while she's in surgery and talking to the contracting officer, you know, simultaneously, and trying to find a sub at the same time while she's in surgery. So it's just like you said, you know, life is lifing, but you still got to make stuff happen through the whole
I
thing.
didn't even know that. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. That's the that is a part of it. Like, you know, you want to change your family dynamic, you want to like increase
Yeah.
your lifestyle. Sometimes it's gonna be during volleyball practice, it's gonna be during a graduate, anything. Like,
Hmm.
there's sacrifices to be made just in business in general. And we're trying to get to a point. Hopefully, if you started off and everything is smooth, then you don't have to experience this. But at some point, if you really a business person, like, we're not just winning a contract and we're like, oh, everything's great, 5 years, I'm just gonna go chill on the beach. We like building an empire over here. At least build it to sell or pass it to something, not just, you know, doing a couple of little things and then dipping out. So though that's not my audience. My audience is trying to
No.
build to sell. And I know Stephanie's on that same page. Like, do something with it. You know what I mean? Not just let it dissolve like my tumblers on Etsy. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying. Um, so I would say, Mercedes, I thought I had another comment with that, but no, we're good. So would you recommend using a staffing agency?
It depends on the staffing. The one I used was good. People Ready, they were pretty good. And they easily replace people, because sometimes you do have to send people home from the staffing agency too. Like, I had a guy that came for the hospital contract. He said he knew floors, and I'm like, okay, grab the side by side or whatever, you know, one of those machines. It's a common terminology, and he was just like, "What is that?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's the end of this."
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you for
That's
coming.
They, you see how sweet she talks? That's how she always is. And people are confused. Like, is she being mean? I don't even know what's going on. So Lisa Lang said, "Do you have a standard proposal format you use?"
I don't, but I'm sure Sheenapreneur definitely does. She's very organized in that. Me, I'm organized chaos. So
Look,
serious.
and we started this before AI. Y'all got AI now, okay? We was
Literally
from
organized chaos.
scratch. We were doing this from scratch, okay? From up here. So really, if you got AI, you don't even really need to ask this question for real. And that's no disrespect. I'm just saying, like, if you just take the verbiage of the solicitation and just kind of like whatever business you're doing, because I was like that too, but this is before AI. I was like, where's the template? Where's the template? And
Yep.
especially if you're doing local, they don't usually ask for a proposal. So y'all keep saying proposal when most of the things you fill out are not going to be a proposal at all.
Oh yeah, local is just really like filling in the blanks and then you turn it in. But like federal is where you have to develop a proposal, and every contract is different. So it's like every time you get this question is hard because every
Right.
contract is different. So it could never be a standard one. Like it's like janitorial, you think it's just cleaning, but sometimes now a lot of the times they're what is it called? They're adding in a lot of additional things. So they say they
Mhm.
want janitorial, but they also want window washing, which is separate from janitorial. They also want HVAC work. They want vent cleaning. That's separate from
Right.
janitorial. And it's just like there's nothing standard about it. It's just like it's a lot of people ask that, but there's no standard one. Each one you're kind of building from scratch. I think the only thing that you could keep standard is maybe your executive summary about your company and what you do. But even that needs to be tailored to what the government is asking for, what they are looking for.
Yes, and
So
I do have stuff like that in the Sheenapreneur GovConNOW course. I do. So you can get more information about that in the description after this video is posted. But also, there's RFQs on the federal side where they're
yeah,
not going to ask for a proposal. They mostly just want numbers, you to check off a few boxes, and maybe like a method of approach. But that's like still you if you're not doing janitorial, like there's so many different industries, so there's really you cannot just have a blanket anything. But she's right, executive summary goes in every single one, capability statement pretty much goes in every single one. But I mean, past performance, we have a past performance like a spreadsheet where we list, and it's in different ways because sometimes they just want the name, the
right.
date, and the dollar amount. That's it, 3 lines. And sometimes they want you to explain what you did. So, it greatly depends. So you kind of have to know what they're asking for, right? So Quadir, Betha, I think I had that problem with your name last time. But just won my first contract for 450,000 USPS. Okay. That's amazing.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Hand clap. Tell us what it's for. Tell us what it's
Still in
for.
shock. I can understand that shock. It's a good one.
It's a good shock, right? I love
Yeah.
it. Um, Shout out to Alex. Okay, so Tempest said, "Do you have any advice for new business owners looking to get into local contracts but have no real leadership experience?" That's a unique question.
It's a good one. I would say develop your leadership skills. But I would also ask, why do you feel like you have no leadership experience? Because it depends. Their leadership is in different ways. Like technically stay-at-home moms have leadership experience, right? Because you're covering the household. So it's like really kind of digging in deep to figure out why you may feel like you have no real leadership experience. I was real heavy before I started GovCon in the John Maxwell and like really reading his books. And I was a part of a course from one of his coaches. And that was very helpful for me in developing my leadership skills. It gave me a different outlook on how to respond to people and really think about where they're coming from, because I could be a little, like, I guess, blunt. So I had to have that understanding, and it was very helpful. So I would say if you don't have any real leadership experience or you feel like you don't, I would really try to get into like listening to some YouTube, some reading books. I love books. I love the Bible. So read your Bible. Definitely just learning from that aspect.
No, I love that because That's a great point, that a lot of times we may not feel like we have a specific type of leadership skills, because I had leadership. Like, I was a warrant officer. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be a breeze, but it was way different when I
Everything.
got out here and I'm telling people like, yeah, so your pay. And they're like, what? Because, you got a certain level of people that you're dealing with usually. And I had to just pivot, but it was still in me to say, okay, it's okay if I don't know
Mm-hmm.
exactly what I'm doing. I just got to roll with it and just hope for the best. So I think if you're an adult, I think most people have some sort of leadership skills at some point. So just remember, like, where you may have done something leadership based, whether, like she said, your kids, you're running your family, whatever, you the person that plans all the parties for your family, whatever the case may be.
Right. There's some leadership there.
There's some leadership there. And then, yes, wherever gaps you have, you fill it in with YouTube. My YouTube, of course, but others too, of people who are telling you, like, success leaves clues. So study some people who are successful businesses over, decades, that can
Mm-hmm.
share some of the things, that lesson learned over time, right? So again, because she's asking, contractors start to get your feet wet. I talked about this a lot on my channel, but I'll let you go, Stephannie.
I mean, I don't have specific contracts to start because it's just like you would have to know your background and what you're good at, really. There's different contracts you could start to get your feet wet. It doesn't have to be basic. It could be top tier. Some people that start off real top in the IT world, I couldn't even tell you how to do that because I'm not IT. It just really depends on your skill level. And I look at it like this. I can only say how I got into this contract. Me, when I started, I realized I don't have any money. I don't have any credit. So with that, I couldn't start off in the product base because I would have to
Mm,
buy first and then, wait for my money to come back. I didn't have that option. So I said I could start off with something in service. So then I started looking up different things that I could do in service. And I felt that cleaning was the easiest way where I could be able to clean and wait for my money because I could do it myself. Like that was my mindset when I first got into it. So it's really about just doing inventory on yourself and where you're at. And then once you do that inventory on yourself and where you're at, then you start looking into contracts and that might fit you in particular.
perfect. That's exactly pretty much how I translated over. Unless, I was in IT for 20 years and I was like, I'm not doing IT, nothing. I don't care what y'all say. I don't care how you trying to convince me. I'm not doing it.
You
But
still refuses.
I'm still refused. Nope, not doing it. But transferring over from real estate, I'm like, I kind of like real estate, but I'm not an agent. So what does that look like? So what were we actually doing? And I broke that down. So it, like she said, like cleaning. She didn't say she was doing stripping floors and stripping and waxing floors is a part of it. Replacing floors, like all that stuff became later, because when you start looking at some contracts, you're like, can I find, it may start off as cleaning, but can I add someone to this? Like,
Mhm.
can I add something to this? So it grows like that. It doesn't have to be super strict to where it's like I must do something that I did my whole life. That one of the guys, I teach at Texas A&M twice a year, right? One of the guys that was at EBV, and he was like trying to pitch his idea, and he had started doing what's it called, painting cars.
Mm.
And he
That's a good one.
realized it was a good one, but it wasn't good. It wasn't that good. He
Oh.
said the profit, whatever he had going on, wasn't working. And after I did my class, he was like, Sheena, I've been doing construction for my whole life. Why am I reinventing the wheel? I was like, I don't
Mhm.
know why you're reinventing the wheel. You're making it hard on yourself. He was
Yeah.
like, I don't know why I didn't just think about starting where it made sense. Now, he may not have ever wanted to do construction anymore, but that's still, like Stephannie said, taking inventory of yourself. Like, what am I willing to do? What makes sense? You really have to give yourself a make sense conversation. Cleaning may not make sense. Some people like, if I see a dirty toilet, I'm gonna throw up. So it ain't happening. Okay, next thing. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So that's how that works. So y'all are raking in these questions, boy. I ain't even halfway done. So do you have any administrative staff person who manages your contracts? And if not, how do you manage multiple contracts to maximize success, says Latia Adams.
I think this is a better fit one for you.
Oh, for me,
Yeah.
So I do have an executive staff of 7, including me. So, cause I ain't stepped back that far. Like this is the first 7 years, right? First year that I feel like my staff got it. I'm like, it's quiet up in here. I ain't seen no email. They're like, Sheena, we took care of it. I'm like,
Mind
whoa.
you, that's at 6 a.m. that she's going off.
Where's the emails? Where's the emails? I had to calm that down, right? I'm changing as a person too. You know, you grow. It's 7 years. I'm 40. I'm about to be 41 in a couple of weeks. So y'all save your money for my birthday. But anyway, like I'm about to be 41. So I was in my, early 30s doing this. And so it's like I'm changing as a person too. And what I expect, and a lot of I have a very low turnover rate for my executive staff. I've only fired 2 people. Well, one fired themselves. They both fired themselves actually. So my people stay with me for a long time. I take care of them. But like this is the first year I feel like everybody kind of knows exactly what to do. And it's the years, just didn't just start, but it's not even a full year that I really feel this way. So you really have to we joke about hiring people that as long as they have one arm, one leg, one eye. But when it comes to your executive staff or people that are going to be working closely with all your stuff, they got to match. Like they can be smart. They can have 20 years of experience. I don't give a damn. If we do not mesh, you're not getting hired. And that's it. Like
That's
some people like to,
lamb.
huh?
I said that's on Mary Had a Little Lamb.
And that's not Mary Had a Little Lamb. I almost said it. Look, and that's the thing. Like, I even had to tell some people in the interview process, if you call me every single time you got a problem, you can't work here because I don't have the ability to be on the phone with you all day. You better be a texter and or an emailer, or you can't work. Like, there's no way I'm gonna be answering your phone call every 15 minutes. I'm supposed to be making more money so you have a job. You know what I'm saying? So, okay, let me calm down. So yes, you have to make sure that you have things in place. Make sure your staff understands what your mission is and what you expect out of them. That comes with time.
Yeah,
and it's not.
I pushed that to you because I just feel like you have more experience with that. Because like for myself, it was one contract at a time. So like the big contract, I hired Belay. And the reason why I went with Belay was because I didn't have time to train someone. Like Belay gives you that already trained person. They do the hard work and the person just comes in and kind of takes over. But multiple contracts at the same time, that's your lane.
Save me. Get me out this lane. It sounds cute. I appreciate it because now, like I said, everybody in my company right now is like getting it. So I really am a little more calm than I have been in recent years. My grades, they haven't been popping out as much, you know what I'm saying? So it's a little bit better. So Mercedes says, yes, 8A DBE Georgia rules in the South. Texas loves SDVOSB. SDVOSB, and that's why I got my SDVOSB coaches. Bet. Yeah, I remember that.
Because I'm really thinking of doing Texas, like moving down there. Not moving, but getting contracts in Texas.
I'm trying to get her in the South, y'all, because I don't know why you up north.
Jacob, I have to stay up here. I'm held hostage.
Jacob, I know, my baby Jacob. You're right. I know you got, and I want to ask before I even ask this question. So speaking of that, so like Stephannie, I don't know how she's able to do everything that she does. She's still got, so baby girl, she's in middle school or she's going to middle school?
Yeah, Chloe's middle school, Lissa's high school, and Jacob's high school, 2 high schoolers.
So at one point you had like elementary, middle, and high school?
Yeah. I was like, yeah, I'm like, wait a second, I did.
She do stuff and she don't even know. Like, so imagine balancing
during COVID.
Imagine balancing the kids. You got to pay attention to your spouse sometimes, right?
True.
And have a social life and run this business. Like, I want to ask you, how do you balance? There's no balance, but who gets sacrificed when? That's basically the question. But like, what do you do to keep yourself sane?
I mean, we were talking about that. I'm big on mindset. I'm big on meditating. Like one of my my routines, which I kind of fell off this summer because these kids is home, but while they're in school, my routine is definitely writing down 10 things I'm grateful for every day. Reading something. I have like the 3-page a day rule. So I read 3 pages out of something inspirational. I read my chapter of the Bible, write down my prayers, say my prayers, and then work through there. With the kids, I put them first. Like it was at IVMF where they said like, you get a second chance to start a business, you get a second chance to probably get a job and stuff, but you'll never have a second chance to enjoy the childhood time with your kids. Like you just don't get that second opportunity. And like that really hit hard for me because it's like I grew up in a single family home. So it was really, my mom had to work. So it wasn't that much time that she had with me. And I have the opportunity with us having a 2-family household to really get that time to be at home and pour into my kids. And I take that like really, really seriously. Some people think it's too much, but I take it seriously. So like making sure that my business could wrap around the stuff that they need is important, especially like my oldest is on the spectrum. So there's times where like even now, I have to kind of cut back on contracts because there's certain things that he needs now going into adulthood that I have to be able to manage for him. And that's forever, it's one of those things that's just going to keep going. He's going to need assistance. And then I have the other 2 where I have to make sure that they don't feel left out because they got a special need brother. Then I have my husband where he has to always, head of household. He has to feel loved and all that stuff. So there's a lot to balance all of that. So I try to make sure to have systems in place with my business. The 2 contracts that I have now, thank God, I kind of forget I have because they literally run themselves. It's just like, do I need to invoice here, invoice there? That's it. My husband and I work pretty well together as teammates with balancing these kids because I could not have done that COVID contract without him.
Girl.
Luckily, he was off during that time, 2 weeks at a time. So he'll work 1 week and then be home for 2 weeks. During the contract. So he was really taking over with the kids. And then when his week at work, my neighbor downstairs would watch the kids, like pulling from everybody. Help me.
I didn't know that. It's a village. It's a village.
Yeah, my neighbor downstairs would check in and help out with the kids. So, a lot of stuff kind of revolve around them. And, I sit down and talk to them about the things that I'm getting ready to do, before I do it. Like before I got into GovCon, I told my husband, I'm like, if I need to go away, this is going to take time, So are you on board? Just like really discussing those things prior to just getting out there because it's going to affect your family. So balance wise, yes. Summer times I keep with my kids. I'm very selfish about my family time. So it's just me and my kids and my husband. So we really try to spend those times together. Summertime, I feel like it's a time where I'm able to really just have fun with them because during the school year, it's like they're all in sports and I'm all over the place. And now I'm like the Uber and I'm ripping and running to so many different places. So the summertime is like my relaxation time. And then towards the end of the year is where it's a lot of business stuff. Like October is about to be insane. So I don't think I answered how I balance.
No,
but
you just do. And
I just do. That's what I do. So take what you want out of it, but that's what I do.
Look, and she's serious though. Like I love that she's dead serious about all of that. Like the routines. I'll be like, hey Fred, good morning. She's like, I don't finish my routine until noon. And that's when you're gonna get your response. I'll be like, okay, because I'm up at 4, like, hey, who out there? I don't get up at 4 anymore. But like she's serious about her kids, and that's like all that stuff is super, super important. And you actually made me kind of take a step like, okay, it just won't get done because even my daughter's 19. I don't care if she needs me for something, and she like all of our kids, right? My kids have kind of grown up in this, so they've seen all the stuff. And they know, like, okay, do you need some help with that? Because I'll be over here while you handling that. And her kids are for real business owners, okay? I have bought stuff from her kids. Her kids are hustlers, like not the fake kind, the real kind. They got money. What was it you said that Alyssa had like a
You got a whole e-commerce business,
yeah.
and
You were
Chloe
like, this
sells
girl made how
textiles.
much?
Yeah, yeah. That was crazy because it's like my tax bill is already high. And now here you come with a whole additional 1099 that I ain't even know about.
Feel like we got it over here. We got our
Oh
stuff.
my
So
gosh.
you do what you do, and we'll do what we do. So I love
Yes.
that her kids see everything. She explains everything to her kids. I think that's really important too. And like I used to see when I went places that a lot of like other races, they would bring their kids to events even when they were really small. And I'm
They
like, why
did.
don't we do that? They need to be
They
exposed so they
need to.
know how to either whether they're gonna do it on their own, even if they don't end up being business owners, that training of like, understanding how things work and how they maneuver can help them in a lot of ways. So I'm glad you shared that. Thank you so much for sharing.
Okay.
Angel Code 7 said, hello, beautiful people. Sheena, congratulations on winning the cleaning contract at the Truist Bank. Turn
Yes,
up. And
congratulations.
my kids perform that contract too. They love it. They're like, what any other work? I'm like, yo, listen. I pay y'all more than my contractors, so y'all not gonna milk me. Did you go to the bank? Was it local or federal? I want to do those contracts. That's corporate contracting for Truist, okay? And I'm a sub. So just to be clear. Let's see what we got. We got a bunch of comments. So Kadir said, I just want a contract in Kentucky. Shout out to
Have
Kentucky.
fun out there.
Right. Yeah, it's different. That's a different vibe right there. Nightway says, are there any hard stops as it pertains to bidding on a contract? In other words, what's something that you would absolutely say no to based on the knowledge you have now? That's a great question.
That's so hard because it's so hard for me to say no.
Yes, we can do it. Yes, yes. What is it? 1,000 people?
So
Yes.
hard. I don't know. I have to. That's a really good question. I know you got your nose, Sheena. I'll be like
My,
thinking I can do everything, but you do have a good system on when to say no. Like if it's too short, I'm learning that, right? Like if it's too short of a turnaround to bid. So because I'll hit up Sheena and be like, a contract is due tomorrow, and she'll say absolutely not.
no.
I will think I could sit up all night and do it and get it done. She will say absolutely no.
At this point, I say absolutely not.
Yeah,
And
so
I
I'm
think that
still in between.
okay, so let me say this. If it's something like if it's in Jamaica at the embassy, look, I'm staying up. I'm staying up. But if it's something like where, okay, do I really even need? Because I've started a contract at 4 in the morning and it was due at like 2 p.m. And I just sat there with no phone on and did it because I just waited to the last minute. So, I would say as far as like bidding on contracts, the numbers have to make sense. Like we found one for the Bahamas, I believe. It wasn't the Bahamas.
Ooh, that would be nice.
Right, but the contract was like 5,000 a year. I was like,
Okay.
what? It was easy. They just needed to clear the path of like this walking trail. And they just needed you to cut the branches that would be going over the trail. But it was 5,000 a year.
Yeah.
I'm like, that ain't
That's
worth
too
it.
little. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not enough. So my people have been trying to get to Puerto Rico. I'm like, well, give me a big contract in Puerto
Yeah, I've been
Rico.
trying to get out of the country. But I would say this now I'm more focused on contracts that are 5 years. I think I have a hard no right now with the 1 year contracts because it's no stability.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I'm in between because I be feeling like I'm being held in captivity sometimes with the 3 and the 5 year contracts. So I like those because they continue on, but I love my one and done. Ooh, I feel like I can do the numbers better. We got a few one and dones, but they might be even one and dones every year, like Kennesaw State. That's like
That's a
3.
cool one. But
Yeah,
like the
it's like
full year where you gotta have an employee there the whole time, like a contract like the FAA, I would never do again. Well,
every
that's just
year.
because of the window washing guy. He just like blew my mind where you could make the same money in 3 weeks that I made in the whole year. And I said, nah, I need to find more like that.
That's what I'm saying. The one and dones can be good because you got that money and then you got the stability, that money set aside. Because
Yeah.
you're really supposed to keep feeding your business. We're gonna spend our money, like that's just inevitable.
Mhm.
But you can, if you're able to like sustain and then like take that one and done money and save some of that to the side, then it's like, okay, now it's done, it's over with. So we
Yeah.
got several of those and some of the, multi-year contracts. So it depends.
Yeah, I
Maybe
think
in it depends.
Kennesaw State is good because it's like it's low labor at one time, right? But when
Yeah.
you have that labor throughout the whole year, it eats up. So you can have a better profit margin if it's like that one day you get everything done, as opposed to like the whole year.
Right. 20,000 in a day. That's what you did with the
Yeah, that's what you want instead of like the whole year.
yeah, 20,000 in a year.
Yeah,
It's like what am I really doing? By the time
it's
you
not
sometimes
that much.
drive back and forth with gas, it's like, what are we doing?
Yeah,
Um, oh no, it wasn't this one. It was this one. So that's a book. Okay, recommendation: How to Talk to Anyone, Anytime, Anywhere by Larry King. Okay. So Carl, I am in Atlanta and she is in New Jersey.
Thursday.
And so another question, Helena Manas, I'm sorry, Mensa. When you have a contract out of state, how often should you conduct pop-ups, or is it best to just get a good subcontractor that is in that state if it's far away?
I think it's up to you. I would go out there depending on just to start it off to meet the contracting officers and stuff and to see how they're working. And if everything is going good, then I'll leave it be. But there's people that never step out or see it. I mean, because there's sometimes where you might not be able to go and you just gotta trust God that it's gonna work.
Listen, listen.
Trust at
That's
that point. So
that's so
it
true. That's so
depends.
true. So like there's a couple of contracts that are here in Atlanta I ain't never checked on because there's no need. I trust my subs. And that goes back to building the relationship first. It's not always gonna happen.
Yeah.
But like with Stephannie, with her contract in Kentucky, she didn't know them peoples, but they were
Yeah,
just
so I have to go.
excellent. They were
Mhm.
excellent and it worked out. There's times where it just doesn't work out. And so, pop-ups are good. It just depends on what it is. Like, if everything I used to say no news is good news, but that is not the truth. So you need to check with everybody, check with the person, the sub, check it with the agency, whomever. Like, even if you got a relationship with staff, like how are they really
Yeah.
doing? Because sometimes contract officers, they may not be there, or they just like, I ain't worried about that unless somebody comes and bothers me. So check with
Yeah.
everybody. This is your business. It's your business.
And a lot of the times they won't tell you something's wrong until it's too late. And you want to be able to catch it before they figure out something's wrong. Fix it, fix the problem for them.
Yes, I have a really rough time with painting. I think when it comes to painting is where I have the biggest issues when it comes to not checking up, because I'm like, they're
Mhm.
professional painters, but I have had the most problems with painting when it came to me not like checking every
Checking up.
single part. So I'm like, okay, if we ever get another painting contract, I mean, it's painting. Like, it's not supposed to be rocket science, but it becomes rocket science. Cleaning,
It's subjective.
I'm a Nazi on cleaning because I understand the
Yeah.
standard, but painting, I'm like, oh, it's no problem, and it ends up being trash sometimes. So I would say it
Painting is
depends on,
subjective. I
huh?
wouldn't. I said painting is subjective. And now that you mentioned your problems, that'll be one of the hard no's.
Say no to painting. But look, and then Shanita was like, I
That'll
had
be
an
enough.
excellent experience, and I'm like,
Really? See? Yeah.
not I have not. Okay, so y'all firing in these questions. So Trinaya Jernigan, hello, I'm new to government contracting. My question is, with no experience at all in service to the government, is it okay for you to use a subcontractor's history?
Absolutely.
That's what
It's
everybody does.
yeah.
That's what everybody does. So okay, Victory Investor, you got like three things back to back. So we're gonna have to come back to you after. So Nightway, are there any networking events that you attend regularly or websites where you look for specific info to help your business forecast for what solicitations you are looking to bid on? Great question.
Okay. I'm gonna take it bit by bit. I'm still reading. So events that I attend regularly, I attend the IBMF Veterans Edge. That's a given. I'm expanding now. I think that's like really the only one every year. lately. I am expanding to try to go to more like the Navy have events or Army have events, one of those like DoD industry specific days. I want to do more of those. Websites, you look specifically for info to help your business forecast. I would say I every agency should have a forecast list. They do, but you have to dig deep. So um, you would have to look at each agency. So it's really about developing your target market list first, right? I'm pretty sure I follow Eric Coffey's target market list on how to develop it, and it's really easy. Like I had my daughter develop my target market list for janitorial. So it's like one of those things where you could do that. And then once she developed the target market list, I had my interns start looking up the forecast at the time. So they did that. And that kind of tells you what solicitations you could bid on. But I usually go by my NAICS codes.
And I think you can even Google, like, I think there's one website, I want to say it's acquisitions.gov, that has like a list of most of the agencies' forecasts, not all of them.
Yeah.
But if
Yeah.
you Google, if you Google whatever Army forecast, then you just got to be aware that forecasts are notoriously not updated. So it could be that person that was a contracting officer for that previous award may not even be with the organization anymore. That's happened to me. And the contracting officer will say, oh, look at our forecast. I already did. So here's my list. Like you got to kind of come to them if you're going to use forecasts, come to them with the things that you're looking at, because it's a wish list, and who's updating this stuff? You got to think about it again. And Nightway, he's military too. So, people are just like, oh, I'm not going to do that, even if that's their job. And so you have to make them kind of do their job. So if you at least, they can't say to you, you didn't go to the forecast. I went to the forecast. Here's the list of the things I'm looking at. Are you all still interested in putting this out or renewing this, or looking for a new contractor and not renewing the previous one? It's kind of like you do a lot of research on that. That's why I told you her kids are amazing. So her daughter was able to kind of navigate that, and then she had another process with it, and then you communicate with them and then hope for the best. You know what I mean? Yeah. And if you don't have those sole source certifications, it's kind of like, well, what are you really doing it for? Because like if they can't sole source it to you if you don't have any certifications. So,
but if you choose to become a consultant, then you can help somebody else. You could find someone that they can sole source it to.
Oh, say it again, Frank. Yes, you are right. That is so true. So yeah, that is a link. So that went over y'all's head. You can find it for someone else and either charge an upfront fee, or you can,
be their project manager on it.
Be their project manager. Sometimes you might even be able to prime it or even sub it. So that's a really, really good point. So we got about 12 minutes. So get y'all's questions in. If you have any more questions for Stephannie, because I still got a couple of questions. So I'm gonna hold you hostage till I finish. So another question from a Nightway. Also, for you and my friend Sheena, if either of you are ever in the UK, lunch and dinner on me. I'm waiting for my time. He be telling me about the UK. I'm like, it's cool, but I'm not moving there. It's too rainy and too gloomy. I need some sun. Thank you for answering my questions. You're very welcome.
You're welcome.
Do you answer? Whoa, somebody's really upset over here. Let me go ahead and get rid of them. Ban user. Bye. Okay.
Not them being mad.
Mad when you're sharing like free information, that blows me. Like, let's see. So this is a 3-part. So I'm gonna read it and then let's see if we can if we can digest it. So Victory Investor, hi ladies. It is so good to see you both together. My question is, when your subs go to the site visits to get your company a quote, how do you deal with that? If the CO is expecting your company to show up, does the sub need to sign in as you or your company name? What does your sub need to know before showing on your behalf? Do they have to wear your company shirts or sign in as your company undocumented staff? Wait, did I skip some? Oh, my bad. Company, did I skip that? No. Okay. Undocumented staff workers, how do you handle this? And can you elaborate on these questions? Okay. I think they're saying if you got a sub, how do they show up as you?
They sign in as me. That's it. Like, I think it depends on the contract, though. It depends on it because a lot of the times, if it says like a mandatory, sometimes it'll say mandatory site visit. If it is a mandatory site visit and your sub is coming, they're coming to represent your company because it's going to be under your company either way. So they would kind of come in and say they're representing ACJ Luxury Maintenance, right? And do they have to wear the shirts? That's between you and the sub, it depends. Like, I have a contract. I got the contract I got now. They have to wear my ACJ Luxury shirts because it's an ACJ Luxury, contract. So they have like the vests and the t-shirts. But when they didn't do the site visit, I did. But if they did do a site visit and it was mandatory, I wouldn't. It's just a site visit. I personally wouldn't make them do that. Now, if it has to do with us winning the contract, then that's different, And undocumented workers, it's a no. It just doesn't, especially federal. It just they're not going to be able to work. If it's state, you might be able to get by. I don't know, but because even state, because you got to turn in certified payroll. And how do you do that? You won't be able to do that with undocumented workers.
Wow, that's a different way to look at it. I didn't think about it like that. So I guess unless you sub. So
but
it depends.
Has to turn in the certified payroll because I had to do certified payroll.
See, y'all are up there in the Northeast. Y'all do stuff different. Like nobody
really
asked me.
Yeah,
nobody asked me for certified payroll. That's so crazy.
Certified. So if you do the certified payroll, which is outside of your regular payroll, and that, if you do the certified payroll, because sometimes they require you to do the certified payroll in order to get paid.
That is so different.
Yeah, they'll hold your pay hostage.
So you're gonna be like, so that's why she said it's an absolute no, because you won't be able to get paid, and that's not ever gonna be the case. And that's another thing I love about government contracting. If anybody is new here, is that you could perhaps get paid late, but you will always get paid. You'll get paid. You will get paid at the state. Now, some people, this one person did check me. They were like, Sheena, stop telling people that they're going to get paid local. And they were in Louisiana. And he showed me an article where, for whatever reason, in Louisiana, they were literally not paying people. Like, these people were doing construction and all this stuff, and they 3 years ain't been paid. So they were like, stop telling people that, because if I don't get paid, I don't want to put no threats on the internet. I am showing up somewhere. Like I could deal with, I don't want to get paid late. I'll deal with getting paid late. But to not be paid, not happening. Like it's not happening. There's no such thing. I don't know.
I have a cutoff on being paid late. I just, me, I walk off. I will shut the whole thing down. Like, and I have no problems about it.
Right.
Like, if I don't get paid by this date, the workers will not show up.
I've had to,
and I have done that multiple times. The thing about federal is you do get paid. I would say federal, yeah, you will get paid. I haven't gotten paid late. Only my the Kentucky one I got paid late, but that was like a one and done. But the FAA, I submit that invoice on the 1st, I am paid by the 6th.
Woo! And I will say, like, there are
that's the only good thing.
Right, the only good thing, I got paid on early. And I have had some local contracts like that where I got paid every 2 weeks. I requested getting paid every 2 weeks, and they said yes, which is crazy. I don't know why they agreed to that, because that's a lot for them. Wow. But they did it, and so that goes back to the negotiation. Like on federal is a different system, so you're usually going to get paid pretty quickly. On the state level, I have never not been paid ever in my entire, even the contracts that were really shitty, still got paid. So
it depends on where you look. I know New York City be paying late. Like I have a friend now, she does government contracting. She's a consultant or like trauma focused, whatever. And she has been waiting all year from January. January to get paid for her work. Like she's really struggling right now from January to now.
What are they saying? What's the excuse? That's what I want to know. What is
So
the
it's DOE, right? So basically with DOE, their system kind of shut down and she had to wait she thought she was going to get paid in March around that time, but the system kind of shuts down in March to get ready for the new school year. So they couldn't put it in until July. And then she's like, okay, so she had to wait from March to July. And then when July came, they were like, okay, we could put it in the system, but it keeps kicking back. So now we have to wait until the end of August.
No, you're not telling me that. You're not.
Yeah.
Listen, that's making.
And that's why I don't want to deal with working with New York City. A lot of people do, but federal, I will work with them because I know I'm going to get paid. But even when I had the daycare, I was going 2 months without being paid. Like, you really got to know how to manage your money. Not daycare, I was going 2 months without being paid. So I had to make sure to still pay my worker, still make sure these kids have food and stuff. But you can't just blow your check, you know?
That's a fact. Now, you said DOE, Department of Education?
Yes, NYC DOE.
You're not telling me because, ma'am, you that I'm on the phone with, you're getting paid.
They
so
are.
How are you
getting paid but you?
Baby, not happening. It's not happening.
No.
You're making my blood pressure go up. You making my
I
blood
know.
pressure
I'm just like
she a real one. Did she still providing the service?
I'm sorry?
She's still providing
No,
the
it
service?
was like one of those one and done situations, but she thought that she would have money to pay her bills for the year. And
it's not happening. Like, in most most local agencies, they run on even schools. So I don't know what they talk about. Their fiscal year ends in June 30th, and they restart July 1st. So I don't know what the hell what is it? Snake oil they selling her, because ain't no way you not paying me for 8 months. No. Somebody gonna be without a building.
All the way down, and then following up everybody.
I don't either. There's no way you're gonna just not pay me. I can't deal with it. Okay, sorry. Mm-hmm. So you need a mentor. Okay, I'm here. Like, y'all don't be reaching out. You'll say you want a mentor. You don't be reaching out. So you can reach out to Stephannie. Her information will be in the blog, or you can reach out to me. I'm very accessible. I'm super accessible. So just reach out. Dante Coleman said, my company name is GovCon Gladiators. Oh, I like that.
Yeah, I think it's cute.
That's cute. So what's in the name, right? I talk about this too, because if you feel comfortable, you have to be comfortable with your name. So I just recently discovered a company called Big Ass Fans. And they're like, yo, I was so taken aback.
So funny.
And so many people know about it. They're like, yeah, we put these in our warehouse. No one has ever said that name to me in my life. Like, everybody knew this name but me. And so
what's cool about it is it starts with a B. So, like, search engine wise, it's going to be up there. They don't have to pay extra for marketing, and then it's big and then ass. So the B and then the A is like, you can't beat it.
And it's memorable, right? I've been talking about it every time. So it's like, what's in the name? It really depends on, like, whatever you want. If you're comfortable with the name, my name is a constant struggle. Foresight Industries. People will never know how to say it, but it's the name that I want, and I don't care. So, be comfortable with your name.
Yeah.
Mercedes, you ladies are amazing. Just super duper dope. So glad I met y'all a few years ago. Woo, woo, woo,
woo, woo, Love you, Mercedes.
Love you, Mercedes. Love it. Helena said, up north is different for sure. Most southern states favor employees up north is pro. Wait. Most southern states favor employees up north is pro employee all day.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. 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 Thank you. Thank you.
Will you be okay leaving? Oh, going to the South? No. But I will make money in the South. But leaving here to move to the South, probably not.
And I understand why. See, look. My company, that's what I'm saying. Everybody knows but me. Me and you,
Stephanie. I didn't know either. I was like, wow. Yeah, I didn't know either.
We were the last ones to know. And no one has ever said this to me, okay? That's why I'm like, when y'all was having these conversations, just because, right? Y'all must have been whispering it, because I never heard it in my life. What a blessing to have you both sharing knowledge. Thank you so much. And T Long said, "Hello, ladies. I'm new to government contracts and definitely need a mentor. Where can I reach out to both of you?" Stephanie's information is going to be in the box, and she is ready to mentor. Okay, ready. So we're gonna ask. We got like technically 15 seconds, but I want to ask these couple of questions because I see my friend getting tired. Okay, and then we're gonna go. It
She
takes a lot.
got
It takes a lot. So real quick, do you prefer? Because of course I love your story with you starting off as a sub. You're the one that made me say I'll be a sub because I was like,
Yeah,
I'll
you
never
were
be a
hard on
sub.
it.
I was like, nope,
Never.
with the strong P, like nope. But do you prefer being a prime or a sub, and why?
Honestly, I prefer getting paid. Um,
I almost felt like I knew you were gonna say that.
you know that, right? Because I think both have its challenges. I was a prime, it had its challenges. I was a sub with the same challenges. So it really didn't make that much of a difference for me, to be honest. So no, I don't have any preference. As long as the profit is right, I'm all right.
Yeah, look, I prefer getting paid, and that's on Mary Had a Little Lamb. I will give. So I feel the same way. I feel like they both come with their challenges.
Yeah.
Here recently, we had a lot. We had like 28 million in back, like didn't get awarded. Okay, stuff that we
Wow.
were waiting on, and it was painful. Your girl was over here like, I ain't gonna
Oh,
make it, right? And so I changed my strategy. I'm like, you know what? I'm going after subcontracting. I'm just gonna be networking, waving
you
my tail
did.
feather,
You did a
smiling
good
and
pivot.
grinning. And that has been working for us this year. And so what I'm finding with the sub, like especially landscaping, we had given up on landscaping because the profit was just non-existent because a lot of people
Yeah.
that do landscaping, I would say maybe more at the local level, maybe not the federal level, it might be better, but at the local level where I was really harping, it was like a old retired guy on his lawnmower, and you
Yep.
can't beat the price. And they
Yeah.
were doing the airport. I'm talking lots and lots and lots and
Just
lots of
driving
millions.
around.
Just driving
They fine.
all day in the sun, loving life, right? And making like maybe $6,000 a month. So I
Hmm.
can't compete because I'm subcontracting. Now I got to use, my money, whatever, and my profit. And so we just stopped. But then I started realizing there were other landscape, like for real. That's all they do is landscaping, and they were building their contracts. So they're
Oh,
telling the cities and the counties what they need, and so they're able to get a huge profit margin because they're bringing the price to the agency. And so
got it.
we started subbing with them, and
Smart.
and then I get paid in like a day. I submit that invoice, it's paid the next day. Like ain't no lag time. And then of course that's the one that I forget about
Yeah,
because my
it's
guy goes
nice.
out there, he communicates directly with the prime. I'm like, oh snap. I won't even remember until my guy invoices me. I'm like, oh shoot, let me go invoice.
Yep.
That's how it's supposed to be. And then there's the others
Yeah.
where I gotta go out there and I'm using a toilet brush. You know what I'm saying? So it just really depends on what you got going on. So and I'm the prime. You know what I'm saying? On the one where I'm scrubbing toilets, I'm over here, the prime, and then with the sub, I'm like hands
Yeah.
off. You know what I'm saying? So that to your point, it definitely um can be dependent on what you're doing. So real quick, how do you find your opportunities?
Um, so many different ways. I'm signed up to every procurement site for this in every county in the state of New Jersey. I make sure to have my interns do that. So
Mhm.
that's emailed to me. I got GovTribe, which I love.
Okay.
It's a paid platform. They went up. When I started, I'm still on a $60 a month plan, but now they don't even do monthly plans. They only do the lowest now is
Mm.
like 845 for the year and stuff. So it's just like, yeah, but I enjoy it. I like Gov Directions. That's the one you put me on to. And isn't it like, is it called findmyrfp.com? Something like
Yeah, yeah.
that one's a really good one.
Okay.
Yeah, I find opportunities through that. And that's about it. Yeah. And through networking, of course.
And through networking. So that leads me to like we talked a little, and so for me, my Gov Directions and Instant Markets are my two favorite. Like there's so many others that we
Okay.
use, but Instant Markets is like
I gotta check
the
out
big.
Instant Market.
And they show like up and coming, because Gov Directions, if you try to look at upcoming, they be like, pay, you gotta pay. And Instant Markets is free. So
Oh, okay.
that's always the thing, but it doesn't do what GovTribe. GovTribe is like kind of like coax you through and give you a lot of stuff. But Instant Markets is kind of like Bing, and then like Gov Directions is kind of like Google. You know what I mean? Like it's not as clean, but it
Okay.
gives you awarded. It gives you a lot of stuff to dig through. But it's great because it's free for one, and it
Yeah.
gives you to me a little bit more. I still use them both, but it's Instant Markets has been the most recent one. So with that, besides like the events and stuff, like how do you usually network? I will say this. She is a networking extraordinaire now. And I envy. I am not worthy. I am not worthy,
She's so
because
silly.
she'll just walk up to someone like, hey, and I'll be like, oh my God, like I'm over here about to have a whole panic attack, and she'll just go and start talking, and they be loving her. I just tag along. I'm with my friend. So how
That's
do you
so funny.
network? Yes. Go ahead.
Ironically, like, I'm a big time introvert, but like what pushes me the network is the fact that of my kids. Like I feel like if I'm leaving my family, I need to be talking to people. That's
Ooh.
that's the whole point. Like, because I'm leaving for a reason, so I don't want to be in nobody's corner. I started out networking through because I used to be like nervous, so I would start out just networking through eating. Like if we're all on the line, I'll try to like start a conversation like that, and then eventually I just got bold enough to say, walk up to people, talk to them, and be able to do it that way. But it really started out little by little by little.
You sure?
I am 1,000% sure. I remember my first networking event when I had the daycare, and I was like a deer in headlights because it was so many people. I didn't know what to talk about. Everybody there was real estate. I'm here with this daycare, and no one cared. Everybody's like, yeah,
Daycare's
yeah, yeah,
hard.
that's great. But so it's like one of those. So, eventually, and that was back from 2008, where I
Wow.
understood where people are like, you got to network, but it's like really kind of breaking it down and networking effectively, knowing who's going to be in the room. I am against free events. I don't really do free events. And my thing to it is, for me, it's like if you paid a certain amount to be in a room, then I know that you can afford my services. If we're all here free, then that means that you may or may not be able to afford my services. But I know if I paid 1,000, you paid 1,000, I know for sure you could afford what I'm offering, those things. So
Wow.
it took time for me to kind of get with that. But there are some great free events where, there are people there that can buy buy your whole company. Like,
Right.
So, it really depends on knowing who's going to be in a room.
I like that, because then you said a key thing, like intentionally networking, because it's the events and the people, right? Because you can,
Mhm.
even if you pay for an event, but you're going to the wrong event. Like if I'm in
Right.
facilities and I'm going to a daycare conference, well, that actually might still work. Facility is not a good example, but if it's something like where it doesn't involve anything that I'm doing, then I need to say, okay, I'm going here because only it's a military event, or
Yeah.
only because it's a DOD event. So it's like, why am I going to this event? And then most of the people that really, really do this for real, like network at events and do it effectively, they look at who's going to be there ahead of time. There should be a
Yeah.
list. So even if there's only 10 people out of the 50 people that are presenting or whatever the case may be, you're like, okay, boom, I'm going to target these 10 people. And I know exactly what I'm going to
Exactly.
essentially what I'm going to say to them, and what my ask is. A lot of people will just, even when it comes to y'all reaching out to Stephannie, don't play with her, because she is not going to play back. Okay. She will look. My friend is so sweet, but please don't play with her. If you reaching out, have an ask. Okay. Don't say, how do I get started in government contracting? If you need to know that, go way to the beginning of my channel, way to the beginning.
Yeah.
Okay. If you're reaching out to her, you're asking for something very specific. Even, I mean, I might have a little more leeway. I'll give you a little bit more of a pass than probably she will. And I'm telling her not to give
I
people a
think
pass.
it's opposite. You're worse than me.
Sometimes I am. Sometimes I can be a little
Sometimes.
brash. But when you're reaching out to her, have an ask. Like, don't just say, how do I get started in government contract? Don't just say, I need a mentor. Okay, what does that look like for you? Do you need to pay
Yeah.
someone? Do you have one question? What does that look like for you? Hey, I've had people say, look, Sheena, I can't afford your course. I will pay $200 every week until it's paid. They gave me the solution. And I was like, well, damn, okay. Like, you know what I'm saying? I probably wouldn't
Yeah,
have
that's
suggested
really
that
good.
myself. Yeah, like come with an answer already. Like, I need a mentor. I'm brand new. I would love for you to help me get my first contract. I would love for you to show me where to find a capability statement. Like, lead,
Hmm.
and I'll always lead with value.
Yeah.
Real value.
Yeah. That's a big
Real
one.
value. Ooh wee. Ooh wee. I just had a whole moment. I just had like 50 memories just in that
I
one.
know, I saw it.
So lead with value and don't play with my friend because she gonna come and tell me and I'm gonna be like, show me to them. Where they at? Where? Okay. And I'm trying to make, y'all pay for everything else. Look, I'm going on my rant. So I'm gonna say this, I'm gonna be done. But
There
like
she
y'all
goes.
pay for everything else. Y'all pay for college. Y'all pay for them wings at damn Popeyes and damn American Deli. You don't ask no questions. You don't even ask what their health score is. You just go in there and you be like, yeah,
That's
and
a good story.
and then you have your card ready. I'm not saying there's a lot of people that on my channel that give their information away for free. They will schedule a call with you and do it for free. That's totally fine. But please make sure that you don't get offended by anyone's price. Their
Yeah.
price is their price. Just like Chanel. Listen, I ain't at the Chanel bag level yet. I just can't see myself with the $16,000 bag. I ain't there. But I'm not saying to Chanel, hey, can you lower your price for me? Wouldn't that sound crazy?
True.
Chanel puts value, and if you feel like it's valuable, then okay. If you feel like it's not valuable, totally okay too. So okay,
Yeah.
done with my rant.
I
I'm gonna
think
say this.
what's important is knowing what you're buying the course for and knowing what you want out the course before you choose to spend. A lot of times people are just joining stuff and then it don't work, but they didn't know what they want in the first place. So it's like really about, again, evaluating yourself, take inventory on yourself and what you need, and then, work from that avenue of it. Because
That's
the
so
first thing I
facts.
did when I got that contract was buy Eric's course, and I went in at the lifetime value, and he went up.
Ooh,
He went up, up.
super up.
And yeah, he went up, up. But for me, it was because I wanted to know more with GovCon, right? And so it was the same. It was just like, even like Sheena helping me through this process. And she says, watch this guy. He said to do XYZ. And I sat down all summer and watched the guy. Like,
She
a lot of
did.
times people don't want to sit down and, I'll send YouTube videos of you and of Eric and other people. And it's just like, watch this video. This is how I did it. And they're like, I don't have time to watch a 15-minute video or a 20-minute video, but I have time to binge for 7 hours. It doesn't make sense, right? So it's like, you have to make the time to be able to do it if that's something that you really want to do.
I I really like that, and it's so important because a lot of people throw money at stuff without
Hmm.
truly understanding. I have told people not to buy my course. Like they
Hmm.
said, I'm about to use 3 credit cards to buy. I'm like, you need to be on YouTube because if you got
Yeah.
to do that much to purchase the course, then like learn for free. You
Yeah.
told me, Stephanie, you got the time or you got the money, baby.
That's it.
It's
And I
one of the
believe that
two.
hard.
I didn't have the money. I didn't have the money. I had a dollar and a
Exactly.
dream. And I got on, and it was only 3 people talking about government contracting when I started. Y'all are lucky.
Hmm.
Okay. Y'all got TikTok and all that. That didn't even exist when I
Yeah.
first started. So,
Yep.
like, there's plenty of ways to learn for free. And I tell y'all to learn for free first. I'm like, hey, go watch my YouTube videos. And like, well, you're still asking questions, but I answer a lot of these questions. People will watch the video and still ask the same question in the comments that's in the video. And I'll
That's
tell them,
true.
like, you didn't watch the whole video. They'll be like, oh, I'm sorry. I got excited. Calm down and do your thing. Like, calm
Yeah.
down and learn. Be a student of the game. I'm still a student of the game. Stephanie is still a student of the game. We send each other stuff. Miss Shonda be on it too. She's one of my students. And she's like, I'm going to get these contracts, Sheena. I'm
Yeah.
on them. And she's
Yeah.
on it. She's a student of the game, no matter what. So you got to make sure that you find something that works for you. This may not work for you. So don't spend the money. There's plenty of people on YouTubes. Okay. So let's see. What was the last thing I had to say? All right. So any parting words completely?
Oh, I don't. Have a great night, everyone. No,
Nah,
I'm
no. Thank you for coming out. God bless and good night. So any
oh,
business, like maybe some business tips,
gosh.
advice.
In the government contracting field, and I think I was going to do a live on this or something like that, but I said it before, really develop your leadership and negotiation skills. Have your books together. Be prepared. Be very prepared when you get into this government contracting field. A lot of the stuff I did simultaneously, but I didn't do it without my business knowledge first. Like if I didn't have any lick of business knowledge, I would have got ate up on this contract, like swallowed up and spit out, never to return again, ever.
That's
So,
deep.
you have to have some type of business knowledge. Really, like if you're out here doing stuff through Zelle, PayPal, and what's the other one?
Cash
Venmo and
app.
Cash App. Yeah, you're not ready for government contracting. It's just like you got to know how to really start processing invoices, developing your payroll, developing your payment systems, and all of that stuff. Like just take advantage of the courses in your county. There's business courses in your county to take advantage of. Take advantage of YouTube. Take advantage of Sheena's course. She's a plethora of knowledge. And I love her so much. This seems like a love festival. People are like, stop. Like,
we love each other. But that's important too, right? Because you gotta, there's times where I'm like, Stephannie, I'm about to go find this cliff.
yeah,
And I'm about to go one foot over. And you have to have a strong support system because it
no,
gets
you don't.
hard. Any
Yeah,
business you ever have, it's gonna be hard, no matter what, no matter what, no matter what. Unless you just got a whole bunch of people already, maybe you inherited something and maybe it might seem easy. But if we built it
hmm
from nothing, from
yeah,
up here, you gotta be really crazy to
you
build a
do.
business out your brain. Think about how crazy that is for millions of dollars. Like that, look, y'all better put some respect on us because we're
Yeah,
building this from nothing to millions of dollars on our own. You didn't hear us say we had any business partners. This is on our own.
or rich
So
uncle.
no, ain't no rich uncle. Look, we the rich aunties. We the
Yes,
rich aunties. We giving opportunities to others. You know what I'm saying? So it's really like you have to really, really be focused on this. And I keep saying it because I think some people miss it. They think
yeah,
that it's not business. It's business. It's just the government is your client. It's just a vehicle to get you to the promised land.
no,
You
it
know,
is.
it's a very
You're so
specific
true.
lane.
I think a
Okay.
lot of people want to try business, but not actually do business. And if you're like one of those people, GovCon ain't for you. It's either you really want to do it or you don't, like, and I'm very black and white in that aspect of it. So, I'm not about trying it. It's really about really doing it for sure.
It's about really doing. This is real life. This is
Yeah.
not like a game. This is not like when you dipped your selling the tumblers on Etsy. Like this is not that. So one more
hmm
question, so nobody gets mad at me. Any advice on leasing property to the government? There was somebody I interviewed. I want to say it might have been Oliver. I'm not really sure how that works. I know there's a weird way to do it if you don't own the property, but I'm not a expert in that, so I wouldn't want to give you any advice about something I'm not super clear about. But we are overtime because my friend is just such a wealth of knowledge and I love it. And I'm so grateful that you came on here with me.
Little diva already came down here peeking at me. She
They're
just
like,
left.
what you doing? Tell them Auntie Sheena is holding you hostage, okay? Okay.
Came down here.
So out here.
That's okay.
So
They've been holding me hostage. See, when I'm not doing government contracting, I am braiding hair. I've been braiding hair all week.
you
Knotless braids.
see the mom thing? You see the
It's
mom thing?
insane.
The mom thing. Like I ain't doing it. But her information is gonna be in the description. So like I said, lead with value with my friend. Don't play with her. And make sure that you guys at least have an ask if you come to me or her or anyone else on my channel and anyone
Mhm.
else out here on the internet. Don't think that anyone owes you anything. No one owes you a damn. thing. And I stand on that because ain't nobody gave me nothing when I started. They didn't give me nothing. They just said it's going to be $10,000 or learn on YouTube. And so since I didn't have $10,000, I learned on YouTube and I just kept on trying. So anyway, I'm off my rant. I ain't been live. I feel like I haven't been live in a while or something because I've been like really on a rant today. But yes, so Stephannie, stay on. But thank y'all so much for tuning in. Until next time, it is two favorite veterans.
Bye, guys.
Bye.